Vanier Cup, and twice they have walked away as champion. One of those championship victories came at the expense of today's opponent, the Saskatchewan Huskies. Saskatchewan has had its share of Vanier success over the years, but the memory of losing to St. Mary's in 2002 is still fresh in the minds of these players. Today provides an opportunity for Saskatchewan to exact a measure of revenge against their eastern rivals. The journey towards the Vanier Cup is rapidly drawing to a close. For one team, the dream of championship glory will continue, while for the other, their season is about to end in disappointment.
It's the Mitchell Bowl, University of Saskatchewan against St. Mary's, a battle of the Huskies. Hi, everyone. I'm John Wells, along with Lee Patterson, back on campus at the University of Saskatchewan. You know, when you look at the Western Huskies, this is a team that won 2 playoff games without their starting quarterback, an all-star in the Canada West Conference, and he draws back. Steve Beelan will be the starter for Saskatchewan today.
Yes, he will, John. Nobody's sure if he is 100%. He's got a pulled stomach muscle, and you really never know if it's healed or if it isn't healed. The one good thing is, though, he is back in the lineup. He's the #1 passer in Canadian University football, over 2,500 yards. And what I love is that touchdown-interception ratio. 25 TDs, 7 interceptions. But even as his head coach, Brian Towers, says, he's going to start, but he just doesn't know how well he'll play.
Steve's practiced all week. He's made all the throws that we've required him to do. I don't know whether he's got quite the zip that he had. In fact, we know that he probably isn't going to have quite the arm strength that he had during the regular season. But we'll just see how he reacts in the game. Everything that he's done so far has been in a very controlled situation and that kind of thing. So he's close to being 100%, but he's not. And we're going to go in, and we feel that he gives us our best chance to get off to a good start at least.
This has been a rebuilding year for St. Mary's, and their 5th-year quarterback, Steve Piniella, is 1 win away from another appearance, his 4th straight in the Vanier Cup.
Well, John, they've really played well, and they've done it at the right time. See, in the last couple of games, they've really dominated their opponents. They've run the football lately as well as they ever have. They have a huge offensive line, and, you know, when they don't run the football, a guy I'm really looking forward to see play today is wide receiver Fraser O'Neill. How about him? 6'4", 205. 4.5 speed in the 40, 37 catches on the regular season. If he's not a pro prospect, I've never seen one. So St. Mary's is getting it together at the right time, and Saskatchewan, they've had it together most of the year.
Lots to look forward to in Saskatoon today. It's a battle between the Huskies, the Sea Dogs versus the Prairie Dogs. Coming right up.
The 2004 Mitchell Bowl on TSN is brought to you by Desjardins, proud partner of the 2004 Desjardins Vanier Cup.
Okay, here's what I'm thinking. Single rope. Just until we clear that first vertical on the western wall. They're gonna freestyle across the 7th phase. I'll make the solo ascent to the 2nd plateau. Check your safeties. We don't need to be heroes today.
Whatever. Let's get it done by 5.
All right!
Columbia gear. Get it at Sport Check.
Look at him. He thinks this is his truck. Nah, he's wrong. This is my truck. 8 years I've sat here. 130,000 kilometers of wind have passed through this nose. This truck is mine, but he does protect it.
Help extend the life of your engine with Castrol GTX High Mileage, specially formulated to protect against oil burn-off better than competitive leading oils.
Good man. Yes, nice man.
Help older cars feel young again with Castrol GTX High Mileage.
You would never hear this from John, but he owns the best car repair shop in town. He's got a well-deserved reputation for getting it right the first time. He listens to his customers. He uses top-quality Napa parts with their 12-month, 20,000-kilometer parts and labor warranty. He's also authorized to provide new car scheduled maintenance. A shop like John's isn't this good because there's an Auto Pro sign out front. Fact is, there's an Auto Pro sign out front because John's shop is this good.
The 2004 Mitchell Bowl on TSN is brought to you in part by Tissot Swiss Watches since 1853. Tissot, innovators by tradition. By Via Rail, people moving people. By Budweiser, king of beers. By Pizza Pizza. And by Magma Communications, www.magma.ca. Demand more, demand better, get Magma.
We've got a full house for the Mitchell Bowl, a battle of the Huskies at Griffith Stadium on the campus of the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon. Two Husky teams a win away from the Vanier Canada's University Football Championship 1 week from today at Ivor Wynn in Hamilton. It's a pleasant afternoon under sunny skies in Saskatoon, -4, and the wind west at 11, blowing right to left across your television screen.
Well, John, the head coach for the St. Mary's Huskies is Blake Nill in his 7th year in that position, a 6-year CFL veteran. He's got a couple of Vanier Cups to his credit in 2001 and 2002, and Blake was Coach of the Year in Canadian University football in 1999.
Brian Tyrus has been head coach of the University of Saskatchewan Huskies since he was 27 years old. He is now in his 21st season, so you can figure out the age of the head coach of Saskatchewan if you add those two numbers together. We're ready for the kickoff, and the Huskies will kick to the Huskies. It's a battle of the dogs here in Saskatoon this afternoon. St. Mary's won the toss and have elected to take the ball in the second half. So dropping deep for Saskatchewan, back near the 10-yard line. A couple of returners, Graham Bell and Aaron David, are back there. David, a Canada West All-Star kick return specialist. And we're set to get the Mitchell Bowl underway. Two teams a win away from the Canadian Football Championship. This is Aaron David for Saskatchewan. He's got the 10, the 15, and wrapped up at the 20-yard line. So the big story in Saskatoon all week long, Steve Beelan, a conference all-star, the leading passer in the Canadian Inter-University Football Conference this season, is back in the lineup as the starting quarterback. He missed the first 2 games of the playoffs, and he'll get tested today. This offensive line, Leaf, has been rock solid all season long. Very few sacks are allowed, and they're very consistent along the offensive line.
Well, for as much as they've thrown the football with Beelan, they've only given up 7 sacks rather on the season.
First down, Saskatchewan. Beelan behind his receiver. The catch is made anyway. Jeff Seaman comes up with it. The tackle by Kiakopoulos for St. Mary's.
Well, John, when we look at this St. Mary's defense that Steve Beelan will be throwing against, it is an aggressive group. Their philosophy is to pressure the quarterback, play a lot of cover zero, which means you take your middle safety out of the middle. Kiakopoulos, there he is, and you bring him up in coverage. They like to gamble. They think the offense will not make good reads and make mistakes. A lot of pressure from St. Mary's today.
Sheeman picked up 16 yards. There was early movement, and the flags come down. Tackle made by Clovis after Nunweiler goes off left tackle, and we'll check the infraction. Looked like early movement from the St. Mary's side. Chad Nunweiler averaging 7.2 yards a carry. This is his 4th game for Saskatchewan.
You know, it's interesting, John.
Offside, St. Mary's, number 43, 47. It'll be first down, repeated.
So 1st and 5. It's interesting. Nunweiler, 165 yards in the big Hardy Cup win over Alberta last week. But Blake Nill, the head coach of St. Mary's, said, we want to stop the run. We want to stop Nunweiler and make Beelan beat us through the air, which is a little unusual since he's the best passer in college football.
On 1st and 5, this will be enough for a first down, Saskatchewan. Kiakopoulos was there to make the tackle, and Kendall makes the catch.
Well, trips to the field and good protection for Beelan. 3-step drop, easy ball to complete. Lebanon, 1st and 5. They go to the air, and Saskatchewan, taking the opening kickoff now, has put back-to-back first downs and has a nice drive going.
Steve Beelan 2 for 2, a couple of short passes. So he hasn't really tested the injury significantly. There's an ab muscle pull that happened just prior to the playoffs. Nylander, left side again. This will be first down territory. And Saskatchewan off to a rolling start inside the 45 of St. Mary's. Sebastian Clovis over to make the tackle.
Well, John, your offensive line has to get the seal block to get to the outside, but when a lead play, you expect a good block from the fullback, number 30, Jeff Piercy, delivers to the outside. Look at the kick out on 44, Tim McDonald, and Nunweiler with lots of room to bounce it to the outside. And already on the opening drive, Saskatchewan has shown you everything. Short passes, good runs. It's a nice opening drive.
And a 14-yard gain for Nunweiler. Not as much running room this time for Stevens. Scott Stevens, number 16, wrapped up by Matt Fox in the middle of things for St. Mary's.
Well, St. Mary's gets put into a bit of a bind. You know, I said Blake Nell really wants to stop the running game of Saskatchewan. They want to take away something, and, you know, if they have to, they're going to go to a 5-man defensive front, try to put 8 in the box. But I really think that plays into Beeland's hands, should they. So far, they've just been content to keep 7 up there.
2nd and 8, Saskatchewan. Beeland to the far side. He's got his man wide open over there, Aaron David. And reacting quickly, Sebastian Clovis to make another tackle.
A nice catch by Aaron David. He lets the 2 inside receivers clear out. Watch at the top of your screen. He'll come underneath, and so far they haven't had Beeland have to throw the ball very far, but he's been most effective throwing underneath the coverage.
David flanks to the near side this time after picking up 12 in the previous play. Tackle this time. Very versatile as a running back. He's got blazing speed. 3 games he has played, and he joined this team on the final game of the regular season.
Watch the left tackle, Chris Sutherland, number 63. It's a counter trap, and Nunweiler follows him. Then when he sees daylight, he no longer leads that blocking to the outside. A great cutback up the middle, and my, oh my, this is an impressive opening series.
17 yards to gain, first down, Saskatchewan. Nunweiler again, dragging one St. Mary's player, Sebastian Clovis, and it's a 9-yard pickup this time. The interesting story about Nunweiler is he played the entire season and his entire career with the Saskatoon Hilltops and only joined the Huskies a matter of weeks ago. Looking back on the season, Lee, Saskatchewan lost 5 tailbacks over the course of the regular season in 2004. So Nunweiler is the 8th tailback they've had running out of this backfield. Second and a couple, and Stevens should have enough.
Well, I think for Blake Nell of St. Mary's, their head coach, his worst fears are being realized. He's come into a pretty hostile environment here in Saskatoon at Griffith Stadium, and the hometown heroes have taken the opening drive and methodically marched it down the field. And when you're on the road, you love to take the crowd out early, and that really is not the case so far in this first quarter.
Look at this drive. It began back at the 20. Another Saskatchewan first down. Beeland to the far side, and he's got a target. Nunweiler, or Jeff Piercy, I should say, number 30, gets his hands on the ball. So Piercy with the 8-yard catch, and he's got the first 6.
And John, here's what happens when you've run lead blocks successfully. Piercy comes out like he's going to block for Nunweiler, and there's no match to be caught from behind. A touchdown pass delivered by Beeland, and on the 10th play, of this opening drive. What a start for the Huskies from Saskatchewan.
7-0 on the scoreboard. The drive began back at the 20, and Piercy finishes it off with an 8-yard reception.
Wow, new cherry Pepto. I love cherries.
Now there's a Pepto flavor everyone will love, and that's reason to dance.
New cherry Pepto.
Look for it today.
What a dinner. She really hit it out of the park this year.
She knew what she had to do, and she went out there and did it.
Part of a champion.
I said it.
Come on. What about the gravy? Kind of dropped the ball on that one.
Dropped the ball? She clearly served up an ace.
I thought you showed a lot of hustle.
Hey, no one wants us to go into overtime, okay? Let's just stay focused.
Way to keep the drive alive, honey.
All right. Who'd like pie?
Right here.
There
Good
we
call.
go. Jump right in there, boys.
Right
Chopper Bikes, now on sale at Sport Check.
The new lightning-fast Corolla XRS. Once you're into it, you're really into it.
I used to swim like a fish. Now I swim to stay healthy. But when I've neglected my diet, I've relied on the science of Centrum daily for complete vitamin and mineral support. Centrum Select, complete from A to zinc.
Not that long ago, young Bobby was given great-tasting Dimetapp to relieve his cold symptoms. It seems that he's back to his normal self. Dimetapp, and they'll be back.
The 2004 Mitchell Bowl on TSN is brought to you in part by Steel, makers of the world's #1 selling chainsaw, and a full line of outdoor power equipment. By the Toshiba Cosmeo, a wireless notebook and portable home entertainment center all in one. And by Campbell's Chunky Soup. Campbell's Chunky, fully constructed.
Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon, a great start for the hometown Huskies of Saskatchewan. An incredible 10-play drive covering 90 yards for a 7-0 advantage in the kickoff afterwards. With Nash returning for St. Mary's. And he'll have decent field position out near the 45-yard line. Steve Pinella, fifth-year quarterback for St. Mary's, is leading the way. 2,000 yards passing on the season. Nice receiver, and Fraser O'Neill will take a look at. And lots of Eunice, fresh faces up front in a rebuilding team. But there are two All-Atlantic All-Stars there, Eric Ince and Isaac Robinson. On the ground in the first play, Les Mullings.
Well, the Saskatchewan defense this afternoon has 10 out of 12 starters that faced St. Mary's 2 years ago in the Vanier Cup, so a very veteran group for them. 9 interceptions throughout the season, so they cover the pass well, and they are going to have their hands full. This is an awfully big St. Mary's offensive line that throughout the season has just worn other teams down.
Les Mullings with 5 yards on his first carry, and there wasn't much left there for Al Giacalone, who had such a sensational time last week against Acadia in the Atlantic final with 301 yards and a couple of touchdowns against the Axemen.
Well, Wellesley, I would suggest that after a 10-play drive, you would like to answer with something of your own, just to at least try to take a little momentum away from the hometown squad. But St. Mary's on a quick 2-and-out, and all of a sudden Steve Beeland is going to get the ball back in a hurry.
Number 9 for St. Mary's, Dan Lumley, a one-hopper taken by Aaron David, and penalty flags are down in the coverage. A 47-yard punt. And Saskatchewan marched the ball very effectively with a great mix of pass and run, finishing off with a passing touchdown on the scoring play to Piercy, but Nunwheeler had a great time going there.
Yes, he did, and you know, when you're trying to answer some unanswered questions about Beeland, is he able to play today? Well, I think we answered that one. And can they run against St. Mary's? I think we answered that with 39 yards on the ground. And so there was a lot of little question marks on that opening series that I think were answered positively for head coach Brian Zalris.
I think it was a well-orchestrated drive when you looked at Beeland basically using the short passing game. I mean, he didn't air anything out, but he was very effective, and he didn't miss anybody. Number one passer in the nation in 2004. Steve Beeland, a conference all-star, most valuable player in Canada West. 25 touchdowns tossed and only 7 interceptions. First down, Saskatchewan. Beeland to the near side, and he's got Jeff Piercy again. Back-to-back catches for Piercy, and he's awfully close to a first down. We'll see exactly where they mark it.
Well, it's amazing what happens when you get a running game established early. Then it just seems to open all the underneath patterns up, play action passes. Piercy with a couple of terrific blocks for Dunweiler early, and now with a couple of nice catches. Touchdown reception, and then that one right here. So far, 2 catches for 18 yards for him, and a terrific start.
Picked up 11 yards, and it's a first down, Saskatchewan. Scott Stevens tries the right side, flag down in the Saskatchewan backfield, and the tackle made by Curtis Nash. Where the flag flew, the indication would be holding against the green and whites. Referee this afternoon, Frank Whites, and Jeff Piercy got caught, it would appear.
I was at my lip-reading best there that he said number 30. There's head coach Brian Towers. Must be thrilled with the way his team has opened up. You always wonder in a game of this magnitude, you've got young players, and he's lucky. He's got a veteran team with him. They've been through these pressure games before, and it doesn't look at all like they're in awe of being in the national semifinal.
Long pass this time, and no one home. As Beeland looked deep for the first time on first down, looking for Sheeman.
Well, and that's what St. Mary's defense is going to give you throughout the course of this game. I mentioned early that they are a pressure defense. That's their style. They will bring corner blitzes. They will bring safety blitzes. They'll bring 5, 6, 7 people. And that means for quarterback Steve Beeland, he has to read that. And when he gets the opportunity, he will have to go deep because that's the vulnerable area.
Chad Rempel to the near side, flanked wide left. 2nd and 20. And there was early movement down there. A flag is down before the play. Couple of penalties here in Saskatchewan after that.
Timeout. Saskatchewan number 4. 2nd down repeated.
Saskatchewan had the impressive opening drive, but a couple of penalties here make it 2nd and 25 after back-to-back penalties. Not many plays in the book for this.
No, not really. And it's interesting, St. Mary's on this 2nd and enormous. They don't bring an extra defensive back. They just stay with their regular defense.
Stevens, left side. And David Metledge had him wrapped up after about a 3-yard gain, kicking situation, Saskatchewan.
Well, that's a good break early for St. Mary's. You know, 7-0, and then you give the ball right back to Saskatchewan. I mean, you need a good defensive series after you've been kind of beaten up on the opening one. And so a solid defensive stand. Penalty helped a little bit, but St. Mary's and Steve Finella should get the ball in pretty darn good field position here.
Brad Olin in, averaging 35.6 yards per kick. Just 1 deep for St. Mary's. Curtis Nash, near side, wrestled down and forced out around the 50-yard line. A 46-yard punt. It's the Mitchell Bowl from Saskatoon.
Pontiac drivers make the most of even the smallest opportunities. Introducing Pontiac Wave.
Live the St. Mary's University experience in Halifax, Nova Scotia, one of Canada's most exciting cities. Maclean's and Canadian Business Magazine rank St. Mary's as one of the top 10 universities in the country. 200 years of excellence in higher education meets cutting-edge programs in research in arts, commerce, and science, and the latest technology. St. Mary's campus is wired with internet access ports everywhere students work, meet, and live in residence. St. Mary's University, everything you need is right here. Visit the campus online.
That's darn pretty. Where do the Northern Lights come from, anyway?
Well, way out in Canada.
I mean, what causes them?
I don't know.
Long-lasting, super bright LED lights from Home Hardware use 80% less electricity. So they save you energy and money.
Oh, my.
Energy-saving LED lights from $7.99 at Home Hardware. Holiday decorating help is close to home.
Piss right through here.
Saskatchewan Huskies have the lead, and they have the ball. 1st and 10 at the 16. Chad Nunweiler, Sebastian Clovis, those two have met each other a couple of times already in the opening quarter. -4 at kickoff time, and the heaters are on.
Now, what's your best guess at the wind chill here, Mr. Weatherman?
I'd say about -6. It's not really that bad, is it?
No, it's not -4. It's not great.
You know what's nice is the bright blue prairie sky, and it makes it feel a little warmer than it might actually be. Gain is 4, 2nd and 6. Time to throw. Complete. No, Aaron David couldn't hang on. Aaron David. They're short of the first down is what they really are, yeah.
But he came up a little bit short, and, well, it's awfully close. You know, so far, though, Beelan has had all kinds of time to throw the football. St. Mary's known as a pressure defense on the quarterback. They really have not got any pressure yet on Beelan.
He's a cool customer, completing 60% of his passes during the regular season. 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he has a first down here in the connection with David.
Another one of a number of Saskatoon Hilltop juniors to play for this team. 26-year-old quarterback.
Nunweiler, and not any place to go this time. Matt Fox was there and waiting.
And Matt Fox is going to have to make a lot of plays. He's the middle linebacker in this St. Mary's defense, and he's going to really have to roam. There you see him to the right of your screen. If they just don't get out and get enough of a block, he fights it off of the left tackle, Chris Sutherland, gets in there. But Matt Fox, if Saskatchewan's going to run the football, it's going to be because they've been able to block Matt Fox all afternoon.
No gain, it'll be 2nd and 10. Beelan. And the coverage was too tight. Flags are down. The intended receiver, Drew Kendall. And Birthright was on his back.
It's a pretty easy call for the officials to make. Birthright was all over the receiver, got in there, made contact. You're going to see it right here. And about a half a second before the ball arrived, he was there on the back of the receiver. But once again, slowly Saskatchewan starts from deep in their own territory.
St. Mary's number 27, first down Saskatchewan.
And 27 is in fact Aldrich Birthright. It'll stand as a 13-yard gain for Saskatchewan. Out across the 40 to the 41. Beelan with time again, a little low, And they say no catch, far side. Piercy was the intended receiver.
Well, I sure like the style, though. Piercy didn't come up with the catch, but I mean, they ran 4 receivers deep and then bring Piercy all the way back across the defense underneath. That is an exceptionally tough pattern to cover, and going to see all the receivers clearing out. Now there's Piercy underneath. I mean, that's tough to cover. I'm sure they'll note that and go back to that.
Andre Knights covering for St. Mary's to make this 2nd and 10. Drop play, and Nunweiler stopped in his tracks again. That's one of the things that Blake Nill was talking about, figuring a way to stop, and he's had Matt Fox on him a couple of times.
Yeah, and Matt Fox made the play again. He's fired up. He's the middle linebacker. I just said, if they're going to shut down the running game, and there's Fox to the left of your screen, number 40, he's eyeing Nunweiler the whole way, and he's right in the hole to make the play. And honestly, folks, if they're going to stop the run, it's clearly on Matt Fox's shoulders.
Nunweiler, first 3 carries, 39 yards. The last 3 carries, just 4 yards. An interesting adjustment by St. Mary's. Away from the deep backs, Curtis Nash. And Nash will draw a flag as Saskatchewan was inside that 5-yard area.
Hey, taxi!
So where's the best place to get a Jack Daniels in this town?
No problem.
Here you go. Nice bar.
Out here, the only thing in your truck that should be rolling around are the wheels. Everything we've learned out there has gone in here. Introducing the 2005 Tacoma. Very powerful, very big, and with a tough dividable bed, very versatile.
Real good.
Countdown. Join Dave Randorf, Jock Clammy, Chris Schultz, Glenn Suter, and special guest Joe Powpow for a preview of the Grey Cup game coming up tomorrow afternoon. BC and Toronto.
And I'm filing a protest with the network. Those guys look like they're having far too much fun.
That picture was taken months and months ago.
Boy, and congratulations to my pal Jock Clammy.
Yeah. Another new addition to the Clammy clan.
Way to go, Jock.
Way to go, Mrs. Clammy.
Yeah, you're right.
St. Mary's, 1st and 10. They've turned up the volume here at Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon. And it's tough running inside for St. Mary's.
You know what, John? So many players on this Saskatchewan team come from the junior football ranks. If they play junior for a few years, in fact, there's 12 on the team, 10 of them from the Saskatoon Hilltops, of which Daryl Balzer is one. Now, whenever you and I do a Saskatchewan game, it's always interesting for me to know who's the oldest guy in the team. Hey, it's Daryl Balzer. He's 29.
Well, he's still on campus, still taking classes, and still has eligibility. But we've seen Huskies from this school who have had long careers. No question about that. Giacalone should have the first down. It was 2nd and 4. And McCulchuk. That's Jess McCulchuk, 35, to make the tackle there.
Remember Rob Simchuk from back in the late 80s? He was about 34 when he was playing fullback here.
We celebrated a victory with Rob and a whole pile of Huskies, a few of whom we met yesterday, as a matter of fact. All graduates and part of the coaching staff now.
Ed Carlton, as the defensive coordinator, was on those late 80 teams. He reminded us that we were all out with him years ago.
Ball came loose, it would appear, but it won't be trading hands here.
You know, so far Steve Piniella has really tried to get that running game going, and it's been just dribs and drabs, and I think sooner or later he's going to have to start to mix the pass in. He's got some solid wide receivers in O'Neill and Mako, and Ryan Walberton is a pretty decent slot back, and you know, sooner or later I think he's going to have to start to throw, because this Saskatchewan defense is putting a lot of people up in the box.
Piniella with 10 touchdown tosses, regular season. He looks at 2nd and 9 here. Has time to throw, and Giacalone dropped it. Fraser O'Neill looked to be wide open, didn't he?
Yeah, he really was, and he was calling for the football. And you know, one of the things Steve Piniella did was to go down to the U.S. in the wintertime and play some indoor football to just learn to make better reads. Well, he had lots of time to throw, and I suggest that he and Fraser O'Neill get together on the sidelines and discuss what's happening, because he's got to get the football to that wide receiver O'Neill.
St. Mary's set to kick. This could be final play of the opening quarter. Lumley gets it down. And Aaron David has the return. Somebody called fumble. Flag is down, but there won't be a turnover here. Tyrone Brew leading the tacklers there.
We've got everyday low fares to more places in Canada than any other airline. So low, everybody can go.
Penalty on the return going against Saskatchewan, so there will be one final play in the opening quarter. Nunweiler gets the carry, and Metledge gets credit for the tackle. Final play of the opening quarter at Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon, where the hometown Huskies lead the visiting Huskies 7-0.
This Sports Center update is brought to you by the new American Express Aeroplan Plus card.
Back in the Sports Center newsroom, I'm Rod Smith. The second quarter of the Mitchell Bowl is coming up here on TSN, with the winner to take on either Laval or Laurier. Here's what happened in the UTEC Bowl earlier in the day. Geronimo Huerta Flores and his defending Vanier Cup champion Laval taking on the Golden Hawks. First half belonging to Laval. Huerta Flores rushing for a couple of TDs. The Quebec champs up 18-1 at the half, and more in the second half. William Leclerc tossing one for Matthew LeBlanc, who hauls it in and does the rest. A 50-yard TD strike. Laval winning at 30-11. They're off to the Vanier again. In case you missed it last night, it was ugly in Detroit. Pistons Pacers, the game called with 45 seconds to go because of a major brawl. Players and fans getting into it. The NBA has officially suspended Ron Artest, Ben Wallace, Stephen Jackson, and Jermaine O'Neal indefinitely. More on that on SportsCenter at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific time.
The GMC Sierra with Duramax diesel and Allison transmission. Legendary torque. Introducing the GMC Canyon. With a surprisingly powerful inline 5-cylinder engine, you might just forget it's a midsize.
Nice phone, Tori.
Thanks. It's the Kyocera. It's got text messaging, speakerphone, and it's so easy to use.
Doubt it's as easy as mine. I just dictate and it sends a text message. Text Mike. Thanks, Mike. I had fun last night.
Thanks, Mike. I have lip fungus.
I had fun, not lip fungus.
I have fungus. Hot lip fungus.
I don't have lip fungus!
Wireless phones by Kyocera. All the features, none of the hassle.
I do not have a lip fungus.
Let it go.
Wow, new cherry Pepto. I love cherries.
Now there's a Pepto flavor everyone will love. And that's reason to dance. Cherry Pepto. Look for it today.
Right now, pick up a free Wood Pro kit at a steel dealer near you. Get real power. Steel. Built to last. Priced to sell.
John Wells along with Lee Pedersen back on campus at the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon. And the hometown Huskies lead the visiting Huskies 7-0. Here are the numbers.
Well, pretty ugly side for St. Mary's. Good, solid first quarter for Saskatchewan. And that time of possession continues that way. You're going to have a pretty tired St. Mary's defense by the fourth quarter.
Only touchdown, the only scoring play. Jeff Piercy on an 8-yard reception from Steve Beelan.
Yeah, I guess for as dominant as those numbers were in Saskatchewan's favor, St. Mary's should be happy. It's only 7 points.
2nd and 4 as Beelan puts it up. First deep pass of the game. Very nicely defended. The intended receiver was Nathan Hofford. And Derek Watson got over to get a hand on that.
Well, I tell you, corners are running a real fine line on defending these long patterns with face guarding. Here, Derek Watson, watch. He really never gets his hand turned around, but gets the hand out just at the last second, and that's pretty good defensive play, but that is so close to face guarding. A real fine line. The corners on both sides of the defenses today.
3rd down kicking situation for Saskatchewan. Brad Allen averaging 35.6 per punt. Back in his own zone. Rush was on. He got it away. Curtis Nash for St. Mary's. Looks for room outside, and he's cut down at the 40-yard line.
Well, John, so far in this football game for St. Mary's, Steve Piniella really hasn't gone on track. He's 0 for 2 in the passing department, and you know, so far he's just made some poor decisions. That was a bad throw out in the flat to his running back, and here he just held the ball forever when he had some receivers open downfield. So for St. Mary's to get into this football game, and they're only down by 7, Piniella has to make some better decisions and really get calmed down and untracked.
Better field position for St. Mary's to begin this drive, and Piniella is on track. On the money for a big first down out across midfield.
And Ryan Warburton, the good slot back, he's a great target, 6 foot, 190 pounds. In fact, this entire receiving corps for St. Mary's is huge. They're all 6'4", 6'2", 6'3", and that is the first good decision that Piniella has made today. He split the defensive backs with Warburton, and it's a play like that that all of a sudden can get your confidence back.
An 18-yard gain. St. Mary's in Saskatchewan territory for the first time. Piniella near side, and this one is picked off. Grabbed by Pulaski. Justin Pulaski comes up with the interception. He stole it away from the St. Mary's receiver.
Well, just as I've given Steve Piniella all kinds of compliments on his decision-making, that was a terrible decision. There was no way that the receiver, Curtis Woodley, was open on the sidelines. Pulaski with the easy interception. A couple of little shenanigans going as they went after Piniella on the defensive side, but the interception will stand. Saskatchewan gets the ball back, and for Piniella, a really, really poor decision after he'd made a nice throw to Warburton to get them a little bit untracked. Well, you know,
88 St. Mary's, first down Saskatchewan.
And that after the interception, after the fact.
Well, I'll tell you what happened, John, and I don't think we're going to get a look at it, but Saskatchewan really went after Piniella, the quarterback, on the interception and had him pinned down on the ground. And if I'm St. Mary's, I too would take exception. You take a 15-yard penalty, but you got to protect your quarterback, and I don't blame Warburton for doing it.
So Saskatchewan with a first down and yards added on. Nunweiler right side, and he'll have another Saskatchewan first down, pending the outcome of this flag that followed after he stepped out. Curtis Nash was there, forcing him out of bounds.
Well, this is the counter trap where they pull the backside tackle, and Saskatchewan for the second time today has run it to perfection. Look at Chris Sutherland. He circled the left tackle. Watch this, the counter. He comes around the corner, and watch the block that he hits against Dave Metzlet, the 42, the linebacker. That gets Nunweiler to the outside. Terrific looking play.
Penalty goes against Saskatchewan. But it remains a first down on the yardage picked up by Nunweiler.
Boy, their running game, that offensive line, what wonderful execution up front.
Nunweiler again, and only a couple of yards. On a slight delay there. Matt Fox was there one more time.
Well, Matt Fox, I said it early, John, in the first quarter, he's going to be the guy, and he's going to have a lot of tackles today to shut Nunweiler down, and so I'm not sure they're going to shut Nunweiler down at all. Fox, a couple of sacks on the season, a good leader on this St. Mary's team, but again, the pressure really is on him to stay active from tackle to tackle, shed blocks, and make plays.
Fox, an Atlantic Conference All-Star.
How about this? The two helmets were locked together, their face masks. Burris, the defensive tackle, Tim Burris, one of those Jerome Haywood of the Ottawa Renegades kind of players, 5'11", 280.
Nathan Hopper to the near side. It's Nunweiler, takes the pitch. Left side, first down, Saskatchewan. And about 6 to spare. This guy has speed and finesse, averaging 7.2 yards per carry as a running back in the CIS.
Boy, and John, the offensive line for Saskatchewan really doing a job again. Circled is the left tackle, Chris Sutherland. Watch how he just seals to the inside. These guys are so athletic up front that it really makes the job so much easier for the running backs like Nunweiler. But that offensive line for Saskatchewan really getting it done here in the first half.
Another big gain for Nunweiler. It's a 16-yard pickup. First down, Saskatchewan. Stevens, left side, and he's cut down.
Well, now you just start waiting for the play action. I mean, Stevens getting his chance, Nunweiler doing some real damage, and now it's just, to me, a matter of time, John, before Steve Veland just fakes it and sets up that play action. They've run the ball 5 times in a row, and boy, oh boy, does this ever smell like play action time to me.
Well, behind that giant offensive line, average height 6'3", average weight 291.
Oh, they're a big group.
2nd and 6. Veland looks to put it up, goes deep, no one home. Looked like a miscommunication there. Nathan Hofford was the closest Saskatchewan receiver to the ball.
You know, I guess if there's one area of concern so far, Saskatchewan has moved the ball at will against St. Mary's, but only a 7-point lead and 1 score. Now they have an opportunity for a field goal attempt. This is Braden Sukin. His maximum range they feel on normal conditions is 45 yards. Now this one is from 35, so well within his ability. But Saskatchewan, for as much offense as they're getting, they've got to start to count some points with it.
Sukin will have it spotted by Drew Kendall. And it will be on the 35-yard line. Sukin into the wind. He has it for 3 more. Braden Sukin makes it 10-0. Saskatchewan leading St. Mary's in the Mitchell Bowl.
Introducing the redesigned 2005 Master Tribute. Funny what an SUV is willing to do for a little...
That's me, Jay, over 20 years ago, enjoying my McCain Super Fries. Still do today. Didn't say much back then. And look at all these different varieties of McCain Premium Super Fries. Spicy, extra crispy, great tasting potato, with all the flavor and crispiness we love. It's also good to know that they're all made with 100% non-hydrogenated canola oil.
McCain Premium Super Fries. All the flavor and crispness you love with 100% non-hydrogenated pure canola oil. Consider it the next generation.
Right now, you can pick up a Steel BG55 blower for just $229.95 at a Steel dealer near you. Get real power. Steel, built to last, priced to sell.
Speed Stick 24/7 gives you proven non-stop protection. With time-release sweat and odor fighters, Speed Stick's always there when you need it the most. Speed Stick 24/7, it never quits.
The Mitchell Bowl, a battle of the Huskies. It's the Sea Dogs from St. Mary's against the Prairie Dogs from Saskatchewan. And so far, the hometowners have the advantage, leading 10-0. First down, St. Mary's after the Saskatchewan field goal. Pinella hands off to Nolan. And not much there. Gottslig was in there, along with Balzer on the tackle.
Well, we talked about Darryl Balzer. There he is, number 39, the middle linebacker. Watch how he cuts underneath the play here, gets in behind the block, and makes the tackle in the backfield. That's an outstanding read by Balzer. Former Saskatoon Hilltop, but he's patrolling the middle, and it takes skill and agility. He did it perfectly.
Literally no gain. 2nd and 10. Pinella in trouble and wrapped up. Gottslig got through. Ryan Gottslig. First team All-Canadian from last season.
Well, this St. Mary's team has not been a good second and long team this afternoon, and that time Pinelli's throwing. He's looking downfield into a pretty strong sun here and trying to pick out his receivers. He really had no time to get that one off at all.
Dan Lumley into punt for St. Mary's, averaging 38.7. And this is a beauty. Almost perfect, chasing Aaron David all the way back inside the 35. St. Mary's all around. And St. Mary's have come up with a loose ball. Number 35, St. Pierre.
Well, maybe this was the break that they needed for St. Mary's, John, because they really had nothing going their way so far. A tremendous punt. And Aaron David trying for some extra yardage with the ball knocked loose right there at 35. Tim St. Pierre, the linebacker on the cover team, with the recovery. And Steve Pinella really has to calm himself down and take advantage of this opportunity. I don't think he's going to get a lot of opportunities to score against Saskatchewan this afternoon. And this is one where he really has to try to take advantage of the turnover. Somehow, either put Fraser O'Neill in the slot. You've got to get the ball in his hands. He hasn't seen it yet here in the first half.
O'Neill has speed. He has size. And we'll see if Pinella looks in his direction on the next sequence for St. Mary's.
I'm not ready for the holidays.
Why not?
Shopping.
I'm gonna do all my shopping at Best Buy. Their non-commission structure creates a hassle-free environment. Plus, they have great gifts, like electronics, entertainment software, and gift cards.
How do you know all this?
Oh, he told me.
It's the fun place for great gifts.
Mistletoe.
Best Buy. Thousands of possibilities. Get yours.
Just in time for the holidays, save $300 on this $5.99 half-carat diamond ring, now just $2.99. Hurry in, quantities are limited. Exclusively at People's, the diamond store. Just in time for the holidays, save $50 on this exclusive $149 diamond heart pendant, now just $99. There is love in here. At People's, the diamond store.
Les Mullings, the injured St. Mary's player, on the exchange and on the fumble recovery, a 56-yard gain in field position for St. Mary's, set up in scoring position in that green zone for the first time this afternoon in Saskatoon. From the Saskatchewan 25, first down St. Mary's. Three receivers to the near side, play action fake, nice pass, complete, and it's enough for a first down. Curtis Woodley over the middle, number 4. Scheibel, the safety for Saskatchewan, moving up to make the tackle.
Well, it's a good play. Woodley's the third man in, and against his zone defense, he reads it nicely. So does his quarterback. He steps up and makes a good, quick decision. Pinella did not hang on to the football too long. Delivered a strike.
First and goal to go, St. Mary's, Saskatchewan 9, pitch right side. Giacalone, number 10. Giacalone is coming off a 300-yard game in the snow against Acadia.
I mean, that is unheard of. He had 31 carries, almost a 10-yard average, 304 yards, a couple of touchdowns. I mean, that is just phenomenal. He's a great size, tough to bring down, 5'10", 200 pounds, so he's got a reasonably low center of gravity. And you know, it's 2nd and 8. They're down inside the 20. And this is crucial for St. Mary's, I believe, in this football game. Even though it's the first half, to me, it's a crucial series.
2nd and goal to go at the Saskatchewan 7. And it's whistled down. St. Mary's, a time count violation.
Well, they've made a lot of mistakes here in the first half, and you know, they are the younger of the two teams, the less experienced of the two teams on the field today. And really, in this first half, it's showing, John.
Second and 12. 2nd and goal to go from the Saskatchewan 12, and Pinella gets forced to throw it into the turf. Giacalone was the closest St. Mary's receiver to the ball, and the pressure supplied by Giebert.
And they really changed up the coverage. To the right side of your screen, you're going to see it come late. The halfback blitz here. It comes from the outside. Now, Pulowski didn't get there, but he forced Pinella to step up, and Giebert then got enough of him that the ball was thrown well underneath the receiver. But a really good changeup on 2nd and long by that Saskatchewan defense. Throw the halfback blitz in there and just give St. Mary's a different look.
Rodrigo Davalos has had success this season. 10 of 17, 58%. This is a 19-yarder. And St. Mary's on the scoreboard.
Where did you get that feather? Our trip. We load up our new Nissan Pathfinder and head out. Make camp, get a better idea, get lost, get found, jump in a lake, jump out of the lake. We keep driving, watch 4 movies, come across this family and give them a ride. Well, the father's a Navajo Healy man, and soon we're around this fire and they give us this hawk feather. We drive home without touching a freeway and get back just as we run out of CDs. Broccoli?
The new 7-passenger, 270-horsepower Nissan Pathfinder.
Design and print your own covers. Nokia, connecting people.
For muscle aches and pains, try new Rub A535 Dual Action Patch. Goes from cold to hot for deep penetrating relief. New Dual Action Rub A535 for cold to hot relief.
Sore, aching muscles? Try the new Sports Wrap and heat the hurt from Sunbeam.
President's Choice Raptors basketball coming your way on TSN San Antonio against Toronto. It's tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern on TSN. So join us for that.
Well, they had a little fun in Detroit last night in the NBA. Did you see that? Oh, my God. Ben Wallace and Ron Artest. Holy jumping.
Up in the stands. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. There will be repercussions as a result, no doubt about that.
They spent a little money last night, I think.
They certainly did. Saskatchewan first down after giving up the field goal. Could have been worse after the fumble on the return. Completes. Drew Kendall. Andre Knights over to make the tackle for St. Mary's.
Steve Beeland has gone to a real high percentage passing game today off the three-step drop. His receivers have had lots of room. St. Mary's defensive backs have not really come up. You know, it's billed as a pressure defense, but they really have not been up in the face of the Saskatchewan receivers at all. And they've made life quite easy for Beeland.
Kendall picked up 5, 2nd and 5, Saskatchewan. Beeland, same target. And this will be enough for a first down as Kendall makes the catch for a 7-yard gain.
And they're giving the Saskatchewan receivers, John, a lot of respect. A nice half-field look. The middle guy is 78 Kendall again, and pretty easy stuff. Find the soft spot. They deliver the football. Far too much to ask your middle linebacker, Matt Fox, to get out and make the play. And Steve Beeland is reading everything perfectly, and St. Mary's at this stage has really done nothing to upset his rhythm.
First down. Beeland keeps it on the ground. Scott Stevens, 3, maybe 4 yards. And here's Ray Morrison on the sideline.
John, I just chatted with Steve Beeland before he started this series of plays. He says from a throwing standpoint with regards to accuracy and distance, he's probably at about 60%. We saw him try stretch a couple out to Hofford in the first quarter, and it didn't pan out all that well. He says he's at about 60%. It doesn't hurt now because he throws it solid, but he says later tonight it's going to hurt a lot.
Well, that stomach pull, you really can never gauge when it's 100%. But if he's only throwing short, you got to come up and be a little more aggressive in the secondary.
This isn't short. Sheeman was the intended receiver, and Beeland had looks on that. Didn't connect with the receiver, however.
I realize, and that's where he had to go, but he had to go there because St. Mary's decided to come up and get a little more aggressive, and pretty solid numbers in the first half for Beeland, although for as much offense, again, and let me repeat, 10-3 is probably not where they want to be for how they've had things their own way.
Not at all comfortable for the hometown Huskies, despite the dominance here, and that door is wide open for St. Mary's, only a touchdown back.
And, you know, the wide open door is a special teams play or an interception, fumble, you know, and all of a sudden St. Mary's is in great shape.
St. Mary's 3 points coming as a direct result of the fumble on the return. And Curtis Nash spins for about 6 after a 36-yard punt.
Gold, oh glorious gold. Men have traveled great distances for it, battled for it, treasured it. Wow, wow. This gold, this glorious gold, Bright, crisp, clean and pure. The benchmark of all that is worthy. It's your kingdom. Consider yourself a wealthy man. Budweiser, king of beers.
Penalty against St. Mary's on the return, and that will force the Eastern Huskies to begin this drive back near the 10. Here's what they were looking for, a little more breakaway as a runner from Giacalone, who had that sensational game against Acadia last week in the snow.
Well, they're going to need a little more of this. Good blocking up front. The center, Nathan McHugh got a nice block on the middle linebacker, and that's what opened that up. I mean, you get the middle linebacker when you're running inside the tackles, you have a good chance for success.
First down again, and Balzer was there and waiting. Giacalone.
Well, again, you know, I just talked about, you know, you get the block on the middle linebacker, you can run inside the tackles, but when you don't get the block, and here's Balzer again, 39, when you don't get the block on the middle linebacker, then your chances are diminished, and that play went for only about 1.5 yards.
Second and long, they'll need about 8 yards to convert. Nice play action fake. Pinella looking deep near side, and he found his man. Fraser O'Neill makes the catch, and it's the biggest play offensively for St. Mary's in the afternoon.
Well, John, this was an unbelievable catch. Watch it, he's to the outside here. I believe he uses one arm to hold off Barnstable and makes a one-handed catch right here. Yes, he does. What a tremendous catch by Fraser O'Neill. You and I suggested he needed to get involved in this offense. That's his first catch of the game, and is it ever a beauty? Oh, he's a pro prospect. I said that in our opening, and fun to watch him.
He has speed and he has size. And St. Mary's with a key first down. Giacalone, the carrier, and he's got 3, well, make it 2 yards. One more look at O'Neill's grab here.
Oh, absolutely. To the right side of your screen, he holds off the DB with one hand. The other hand makes the catch. I'm not sure he was in bounds, but it was a beauty catch anyway. And you know what I'd like to see them do with Fraser O'Neill is move him around a little more. I'd love to see him be put in the slot where it's a little easier to get him the ball quickly.
Second and 8, St. Mary's, Saskatchewan 43. Pinella sees an opening, and he'll have the first down. Tough running for the St. Mary's quarterback, Steve Pinella, in what could be his final game in university football. But if St. Mary's wins today, there will be one more game in the Vanier Cup next Saturday afternoon in Hamilton.
Yeah, this is a good call. Here's the block on the middle linebacker right there. They take care of him, Balzer, and then a quarterback draw gets some great yardage for Pinella. He's a tough quarterback throughout the season. He took some awful hits in games against Laval and Concordia and Acadia, but he is a tough quarterback.
He picked up 12 yards, and this running play is not half as effective. A helmet comes loose. Giacalone was stopped in his tracks. Tyson Craigs, a fifth-year player for Saskatchewan, made the tackle there.
Well, 41 tackles on the season, a terrific player. There he is to the right of your screen, and watch his work here. They just try to bounce him to the outside, but I mean, it's like he read the play so quickly. He's up in there in the hole, no chance for Giacalone to get there. A solid, square your shoulders up to the line of scrimmage kind of tackle. What a beautiful play.
Loss of 1, 2nd and 11, St. Mary's. Pinella look to escape again, and he won't get away this time. 3 Saskatchewan Huskies are there, led by Ryan Gottslig. Second sack for Saskatchewan, and a kicking situation for St. Mary's. First team All-Canadian last year, Ryan Gottslig. on the sidelines. Dan Lumley out around midfield. Two Saskatchewan returners in the end zone. This one will bounce out at about the 2-yard line. That's about as good as it gets. Saskatchewan starts deep.
We started this thing, and now we're on top. Everybody's trying to knock us off. It's us versus them. We must protect this house. Will you protect this house? I will. We must protect this house.
Welcome back. It's the Mitchell Bowl from Griffith Stadium on the campus of the University of Saskatchewan. And the hometown Huskies cling to a 1-touchdown lead. So there's been something to cheer about for a sellout crowd here. But how about the punt by Dan Lumley, forcing Saskatchewan to begin this drive back at the 2-yard line?
Yeah, with 3 minutes to go, just under 3 now, and a wonderful opportunity for St. Mary's defense to dig in.
And on first down, that's exactly what St. Mary's is able to do.
Phil Howell, 36 from the outside, really closed down quickly. Now is when it gets tough, and I'm telling you, from a defensive standpoint, if it's me, I come up and pressure these receivers. I want that ball back quickly for my quarterback so he has a chance to get some more points before halftime.
Howell putting the stop on Nunweiler after a 4-yard gain. So this is a critical play for Saskatchewan, looking at 2nd down and 6. And that may just work. In fact, it will be a huge first down for Saskatchewan as Aaron David got open, makes the catch, and grabs extra yards on the play.
Well, I guess the frustrating thing for me is he's going to throw short. There's David to the outside. They clear out it again. He comes underneath the coverage in the corner, cannot make the tackle, can't make the play. Derek Watson, and it's coming short, but there's nothing you can do about it. And Watson could have maybe had the tackle right there, but his angle was just a little bit behind, and St. Mary's gets out of a hole.
Big hit on Nunweiler. First down run. Nunweiler tries the left side, and Ulrich Birthright was there to make the play. The gain is better than 5, though. It'll be a 6-yard gain, looking at 2nd and 4, Saskatchewan.
It's interesting. We've had a fair bit of offense, but, both Brian Towers and Blake Nill said yesterday they thought it would be kind of a defensive game, although offenses were, pretty dominant throughout the regular season. At this time of the year, they felt the defenses were going to have the upper hand, and they really have.
No catch intended for Sheeman, and he laid out, couldn't squeeze it. So Saskatchewan gets set to kick it away. 1:41 till halftime, and that play by Aaron David, including the broken tackle that he forced St. Mary's to miss there, really setting Saskatchewan up in better field position all of a sudden than they were moments ago back at the 2. So a gain of a little bit on one big play.
And you know what? The sun really is a factor in the returner's eyes right now. And number 12, Curtis Nash, is back there, but that sun could be a bit of a challenge.
Not a big kick. In fact, it might have been partially blocked as Nash has to roll back to his 40 and then fall on it. Penalty flags fly after that. But there's another flag back in the area. A 34-yard punt, and did St. Mary's get a little piece of that? Brad Olin punting for Saskatchewan. Watch here.
Yeah, it's tough to tell. I'm sure he got a little piece of it because he did come into contact, and if he got any part of the football, of course, it would not be contacting the kicker.
So there are 2 flags down.
Well, Steve Pinella's got 1:30 to try to take his team. He's going to begin from the 30-yard line.
15, St. Mary's on the run back. 10-yard penalty. First down, St. Mary's.
So the only penalty is against Les Mullings for holding on the return. Steve Pinella. At quarterback for St. Mary's. Nice pass. At least as far as it looked, it was a pretty pass leaving his hands, but Barnstable almost picked it out.
Well, you will not get an easier interception attempt than the one Barnstable had right there. A throw by Pinella overshot the mark, and it's going to come right at you. Have a look what Barnstable sees. He sees interception, but he just can't hang on to the football.
Well, he had a lot on it. It was on a rope, as it were, but off target. The intended receiver, Ryan Warburton.
Well, now, of course, with 1:25 to go, Saskatchewan's thinking stop, and we may have a chance for some points.
2nd and 10 here. Pinella with all kinds of time. Tipped into the hands of the receiver. Catch is made by Mako. Atmos Mako had it tipped into his hands. Saskatchewan cover guy.
Michalchuk.
Yes, absolutely, and that's Jess Michalchuk, number 35.
Yes, and he had absolutely superb coverage. I was watching the two of them battle downfield, and Mako just is the recipient of a tough play by Michalchuk. That should have, again, been another interception. He had it right in his hands, but St. Mary's with the big break.
And here, St. Mary's, Pinella. Little play action fake, and he runs again. He's been effective running the football on a couple of occasions. Looks like he's a little bit shy of the first down there, but positive yardage just the same. Steve Pinella, 5th-year quarterback. 10 touchdowns on the season. 5 of 10 last week for 65 yards against Acadia. It was a runner's game in the snow to get St. Mary's here to the Mitchell Bowl. 1:02 to go. And Mullings should have enough for the first down. We'll see where the spot is. Les Mullings.
Yeah, lots of time for Steve Pinella if they pick up the first down. He's into his hurry-up offense, 56 seconds to go. Lots of time for him to run this offense. In fact, they've taken a timeout here to discuss things and make sure they have the right plays called, because this is an absolutely wonderful opportunity for them. They've been dominated in the first half by Saskatchewan, but they're only a couple of plays away from having a tie game at halftime.
And big plays for St. Mary's. The fumble set up the field goal.
Well, their special teams play has been good. They've had great production from their punting that's put them in some good spots. And, you know, although Pinella has not a first half that he'd be overly proud of, and he's in a great spot here.
He's hanging in, down by a touchdown.
See, here's where I talked about Fraser O'Neill, and he's the wide receiver, made one terrific catch, but, you know, sometimes it's so much easier to get to the ball to the receiver if he's in the slot, and here's where I'd love to see them move him around a little bit. They've been very content to keep him as the wide receiver to the wide side of the field, and sometimes I just think that takes him out of the play. And again, he's going wide side to the top of the field, but if he's in the slot, I think they could have some real success with him.
St. Mary's first down, Saskatchewan 17. Chance to tie it here if they can keep this drive alive. Catch made by Mako again, so he's made a couple on this drive, including the one tipped into his hand. Less than 5 yards to gain there.
He's a draft choice of the BC Lions, playing the Grey Cup tomorrow, so he is their property when he comes out of university.
This will be 2nd and 6. St. Mary's at the Saskatchewan 13. Pinella stands in. He's got time. Escapes. Does he have enough for the first down? I think he'll be a little bit shy, and maybe thought about a gamble here by Blake Nill with 36.6 seconds till the half. We'll see where they spot the ball.
Well, you know, this is very interesting. In a game like this, points to me are crucial, and anything can happen on a handoff. They're going to get a bit of a break here where they time out to take and do the measurement.
It'll be 3rd and 1 as we look at it from here, but we'll see how close St. Mary's actually is to a first down on this measurement.
Well, this is, you know, both coaches have great experience. Of course, Brian Towers, 21 years as a head coach. Blake Nils, 7. He's won a couple of Vanier Cups. These guys don't make a lot of mistakes. And I'm sure whichever way he goes, and they are going to go gambling. I kind of like the call because, John, you're only going to get so many scoring chances on the road. And I think you need to take advantage. I like the call.
3rd down and 1 to go. They've got a couple of running backs who have been able to run the football effectively. Giacalone and Mullings, and they have a quarterback in Pinella who has run as well. It is Pinella, and do they force him back? It might be a little close here.
Well, I really questioned the play because
he didn't get down, did he?
There was nobody in the backfield, so, I mean, everybody in the park knows the quarterback's going to run with the football, and that makes the defense's job that much easier.
Did he drop it here?
I'm not sure he didn't cough it up at the end. Oh, there it is. The ball's on the ground. I think St. Mary's gets it back.
They get it back, but it will be interesting. He likely lost a few inches there.
Well, they got the first down, and the gamble pays off.
So 26.6 seconds till halftime. St. Mary's threatening to get back to even here with a first down and goal to go at the Saskatchewan 4. Pinella looks to the end zone. There's the toss, and he'll get the touchdown. Tomiak comes up with a huge touchdown reception. All up, Tomiak has the TD catch. The gamble pays off, and we're all even, 10-10, or almost all even. Convert to come.
Well, this was a heck of a catch by Tomiak. He comes in as the 5th receiver. It goes as a 4-yard catch, but it was a long pass into the end zone. 2 receivers came dangerously close, but Pinella picks him out, and good concentration. He takes the hit after the play as well, and by Mike Scheibel, but Tomiak hangs on, and we're all tied.
Heading to halftime, 17.9 seconds until halftime officially begins. The Mitchell Bowl on campus at the University of Saskatchewan. Huskies against the Huskies, Prairie Dogs against the Sea Dogs. And Saskatchewan had a 10-0 lead. St. Mary's with back-to-back scores, field goal first, touchdown there. All even, heading to the dressing rooms at halftime.
Wow, what a lift for Blake Nils' team right here to take advantage of very few scoring opportunities, but they've been able to do it. 10-10. You know, I think St. Mary's goes in at halftime saying, my oh my, did we claw our way back into this football game? And I think for Saskatchewan, with the amount of offense they've had and only 10 points, they got to say, what do we have to do?
6 plays to cover 80 yards, finished off by the Tomiak touchdown reception in a time of 1:15. So St. Mary's kicks off to Saskatchewan. And they'll reset. On the return, Saskatchewan. Out across the 35, Aaron David. And Birthright forced him out with 13.4 seconds remaining till the half.
Well, with 13 seconds to go, Steve Beelan, if I'm him, I don't, do you take a shot or not? I don't know.
Well, they're lining up in passing formation here.
I'd probably take a shot. You got wide receiver Aaron David. He's your #1 guy. He's out to the wide side. Why not let one rip for him?
On the ground. Scott Stevens for a couple. Well, they got a 4-yard gain, actually speaking, almost 5. 9.4 seconds to go. the only thought here, Leaf, is you wonder about trying to regain a little momentum after giving it all to St. Mary's. But this should be the last play with time ticking down and zeros on the clock. So this will be it for the opening half, barring a penalty on this play. Stevens again.
Oh, what a hit.
And no markers anywhere. It's halftime at the Mitchell Bowl. Saskatchewan with the early 10-point lead. St. Mary's has stormed back. It's all even at the half.
This Sports Center update is brought to you by Campbell's Chunky Soup. Campbell's Chunky, fully constructed.
At the half of the Mitchell Bowl in Saskatoon, Rod Smith back at the Sports Center newsroom. The winner of that game will take the UTEC Bowl champion on in the Vanier Cup. That'll be either Laval or Laurier. Geronimo Huerta Flores and the defending champs. Looking good early. First half belonged to the home side. Huerta Flores rushing for 2 TDs. The Quebec champs up 18-1 at the half. And in the second half, they continued it. William Leclerc tossing it down the sideline. Matthew LeBlanc hauls it in and does the rest for the touchdown. Laval 30, Laurier 11. Laval off to the Vanier again. You might have missed this last night. It was ugly in Detroit. The Pacers-Pistons game called with 45 seconds to go because of a major brawl that spilled into the stands. Players and fans involved. The NBA has officially suspended Ron Artest, Ben Wallace, Stephen Jackson, and Jermaine O'Neal indefinitely. Much more on that story in SportsCenter at 6 o'clock Eastern. Join us then.
For the first time ever on a 3-disc DVD, Tiger, the true story authorized by the champion himself, including a front row seat to Tiger's golf clinic.
The key to golf is always being pin high.
With never-before-seen footage and exclusive interviews. His life.
My father always used to tell me, you know, if you work hard, you're going to get results.
His majors. His legacy. Tiger, the authorized DVD collection. Own it today.
Mom, when somebody sneezes, you say bless you, right?
Right.
Then what are you supposed to say when somebody coughs?
Robitussin.
To help stop a bad cough, respond with the strength of Robitussin.
Robitussin.
Robitussin. Tim, it's bless you for coughs.
Yeah.
To help stop a bad cough, respond with the strength of Robitussin. Robitussin. Right now, pick up a free Wood Pro kit at a steel dealer near you. Get real power. Steel. Built to last, priced to sell.
Hey, do you know where the... what?
I want to take you somewhere.
I'm free for dinner.
In San Francisco?
That would be nice.
We could go back to that little seafood place. Our hotel's only a block away. But this time, we'll have a view of the bay. And I booked a trolley tour right before our sunset cruise.
Planning a trip with Expedia.ca means getting your trip your way.
Happy 12th anniversary.
13th.
Yes.
Expedia.ca. Flights, hotels, car rentals, packages. Now we're getting somewhere.
Halftime at Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon. It's all even in the battle of the Huskies for the Mitchell Bowl. Winner here today on to the Vanier Cup, and there's a long way before this one is decided. Interesting first half. We saw it all leave with Saskatchewan coming up with the opening 10 points, and then St. Mary's responding with the next 10 to get even.
Well, I mean, we have a ball game now. I thought early in the first half it was going to be all Saskatchewan Huskies, and it was. There was Jeff Piercy on the pass on the play action out of the backfield. That was 7-0 for Saskatchewan, but
that ended a 90-yard drive right there.
Fraser O'Neal a little frustrated in that first half. He wanted the football, and they didn't get it to him early, but poor choice by Piniella there. I mean, he had a pretty ugly first half, except for one series when he was able to connect with his receiver, Fraser O'Neal. And this boy, big tip. Miko makes the catch.
Yeah, he does.
Should have had 2 interceptions, but they coughed up a couple.
And then, in the dying seconds of the opening half, St. Mary's into the end zone for the first time. Tomiak making the catch. So it was all Saskatchewan early, and then St. Mary's comes back, and they're the first half stats.
Well, the time of possession is really in favor of Saskatchewan. You know what? I think a frustrating first half for them, John, because with that kind of net yards, 202 yards, I think you'd like to think that you're going to have more than 10 points. But the good news is, for you and I, we got a tie ball game, and I think both coaches know that this second half, anything's going to happen in two great football teams.
Yeah, when you look at the two coaches and the two programs we're watching here today, these guys have done an outstanding job in getting these teams back to face each other for the second time in a couple of years. And of course, St. Mary's trying to make it all the way to the Vanier Cup for a record-setting fourth time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brian Towers, 21 years experience as a head coach, Blake Nill, 7. I mean, these guys know how to put their programs together. They know how to coach in game day situations, and I'm having a lot of fun watching how they function. And like my hat?
I wasn't going to say anything.
It's cold out here.
I'd be embarrassed, but some guys can get away with wearing something like that. It's halftime in Saskatoon. It's the Mitchell Bowl on TSN.
We put a lot into the Nissan Murano. And as it turns out, so can you.
Right now, pick up a free Wood Pro kit at a steel dealer near you. Get real power. Steel. Built to last. Priced to sell.
It can be hard to eat everything you should, as recommended by Canada's Food Guide to Healthy Eating. And your diet alone may not always be enough to provide all the vitamins and minerals you need. That's why so many busy people help maintain their good health by taking a Centrum multivitamin daily. You can trust the science of Centrum, complete from A to zinc.
Suddenly, everywhere you want to go seems a lot closer. The American Express Aeroplan Plus cards. They offer up to 60% more Aeroplan miles, so you earn miles faster. Then everything gets closer.
I have rebuilt our nation. I have rebuilt our pride. Our enemies being re-educated. On this day, we stand united once more. On this day, those driven to divide us will hear our voice. On this day, they will know our victory is imminent.
The March for the Hellgeist has begun. Join the Resistance online. Killzone. Rated M for mature.
Speedstick 24/7 gives you proven non-stop protection. With time-release sweat and odor fighters, Speedstick's always there when you need it the most. Speedstick 24/7, it never quits.
1/2 to go in Saskatoon. It's the Mitchell Bowl. And the Huskies are against the Huskies here. One Husky team will move on to the Vanier Cup next Saturday afternoon against the earlier winner today. Here's a recap of what went on in Laval this afternoon.
The Montreal Alouettes were supposed to be the team of Quebec, but give that title to Laval Rouge et Or. They're going to the Vanier Cup once again. They celebrate a UTEC Bowl victory, complete dominance over the Laurier Golden Hawks. Jamie Bone, their running back, stole the show.
Geronimo heard this Flores. We talked about him at the beginning of the show and how important he was and how he's a nominee for the Hick Creighton Trophy. But I tell you, he just had one heck of a football game this afternoon. In the first half, taking a screen pass here. This is a big play in the first half for them. They ended up setting up their first touchdown. They pass it to him here, then they give it to him on the run, and he goes outside. Gets a shoulder square, and boy, he gets in the end zone. A real tough, powerful back. You know, it wasn't only him. They did some weird things on special teams as well. They threw this big pass. They got him down here. And again, when you're down this close to the goal line, what are you going to do? Give it to your big guy, man. I mean, he's not big in stature, but he's big in productivity. And he had a great afternoon, 165 yards rushing on 22 carries. 28-yard receiving, 2 touchdowns, the most viable player of this game.
He was the star, but not to be overshadowed. Really, the reason that Laval is going back to the Vanier Cup, those 12 guys on defense.
No question. I mean, you know, we talk about Hervey Flores, but I tell you, those guys on defense are the best defense in the nation. Only 8 points scored against them all year long, average. And you know what? They're going to be the favorites going to the Vanier Cup next week.
You know what the bad news is? All of these people have a room next to yours tonight. You can forgive them. They're going back to the Vanier Cup. Party on in Laval. The Rouge et Or will be in Hamilton next week.
So we know one team that will be around for the Vanier Cup next Saturday. Laval Rouge et Or will be there. Will it be against St. Mary's or Saskatchewan by the time the second half is complete here? Down to the sidelines now. Here's Ray Morrison.
Brian Towers, nice to come out and establish something early in the very first drive that probably gained some confidence for your offensive gang.
Yeah, we got some things going early, went all the way down the field and scored, and then we stalled a little bit, and we just missed a couple guys wide open. So, hey, we're back at 10-10. We start over, and let's play the second half.
How do you think Steve has played, considering the injury? You mentioned to me earlier, he's frozen solid in the abdomen.
Yeah, Steve's doing exactly what we said he could do. He doesn't have anywhere near the zip that he has normally, but he's doing a good job for us. He's moving the ball around, and so far he's been okay.
Thanks for this, Brian.
Thanks a lot.
Guys, heading into the second half at the Mitchell Bowl, momentum belongs to the St. Mary'S, scoring the final 10 points of the opening half. Beautiful day in Saskatoon, no doubt about it.
Was something early. You went deep a couple times late in the half and had some success there.
Yeah, I think it's a bit about nerves. We're, you know, calm down a bit here, and you know, we're going to come out here and we're going to do our best to win this game in the last 30 minutes.
You're a huge offensive line. Do you sense you're starting to dominate their defense a little bit?
Get a push, okay? We're going to go out here, play our kind of football, be physical, aggressive, and like I said, we're going to go out to win. You know, see what we can do here.
Good stuff. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks very much.
All right, John, back to you.
Yeah, emotions are running high at both benches in a 10-10 game. What's on the line? A berth in the Vanier Cup against Laval. And here's how the quarterback stacked up. Quite a turnaround in that later stages of the first half.
Well, for Steve Piniella, I mean, he had 2 long passes. One, a great catch by Fraser O'Neill. The other, a lucky one, but I think nerves were a factor. Both teams calmed down. It should be a better second half.
And second half is underway. Giacalone on the return to set St. Mary's up out near the 35-yard line.
Well, there you see not an overly effective first half for St. Mary's. 5 punts, although they punted the ball very, very well, but they came on late. They were down 10-zip, and now they come back to tie it up. And as head coach Blake Mill says, it's anybody's game, and we'll see how they do on their first possession.
Yeah, it's up to Saskatchewan right now, Lee, to try and steal that momentum back from St. Mary's. Piniella looking deep. He's got an open man, and it's picked out. Bouncing around. McHale was the intended receiver. Jess McCalchuk comes up with the interception. It just kind of rolled into his hands, didn't it?
Well, it really did. It was very similar to the one that went through his hands in the first half, and that Mako's caught this time in perfect position, and he makes the interception. And on the first play of the second half, Saskatchewan Huskies get the break.
Jess McCalchuk with the interception, and it's first down Saskatchewan, quickly going back the other way. And how's that for a momentum shift for the hometown Huskies? Nunweiler, the ball carrier, Matt Fox, the tackler. Those two have met each other more than once this afternoon.
Well, they really have. We talked extensively in the first half. The key for St. Mary's against the run would be Matt Fox, the middle linebacker. His guys up front have to keep people off him.
Six-yard gain, 2nd and 4, Saskatchewan. The other side this time. And Nunweiler takes a hit. It's Fox again. And the spot will be of the utmost importance to Saskatchewan here. Fox a little slow to get up. It will be a first down.
Well, it was a good cut by Nunweiler to get inside of Sebastian Clovis. He's the big tackler in that linebacking core. boy, I've really been impressed with how Saskatchewan, they moved the ball well in the first half. They just didn't get a lot of points for their efforts.
Passing formation. Chad Rempel to the near side. On first down, penalty flag comes down, and this is picked up. St. Mary's coming up with the interception now. Watson has the interception. Aaron David was the target. We'll check the infraction first.
Well, procedure against Saskatchewan, so Watson's interception will stand. And credit to him. I mean, he has seen this underneath pattern about 4 times in the first half, and Steve Beelan goes back to it to his wide receiver, but Watson steps underneath Aaron David. David had beaten him twice on that, but give Watson tremendous credit. He saw it developing, and he broke on the football quickly, so back-to-back turnovers very quickly here to begin the third quarter.
2 interceptions, and now it's St. Mary's with the opportunity from the 50. Giacalone talked about his heroics last week against Acadia. 301 yards and a couple of touchdowns in a victory over the Axemen. What a fine afternoon, and that was in heavy-duty snow in Halifax. In fact, they figure that on the East Coast of Nova Scotia, winter has arrived and it is not going away.
Yeah, that's what Blake Mill said. He said, I think we're going to see snow for about 5 months now.
It's 10-10 at the Mitchell Bowl. Injury timeout at Griffith Stadium.
T-minus 20 seconds and counting. We are go. Guidance internal. 10, 9, 8, 7. Ignition sequence start. 4, 3, 2, 1. All engines running. Liftoff. We have liftoff at 8:14 in the morning.
Introducing the all-new Pontiac G6. Built for drivers.
This winter, don't let the weather get the best of you. Fight back with a new Michelin X Ice tire starting at just $75.99. Available at Canadian Tire.
Look at him. He thinks this is his truck. Nah, he's wrong. This is my truck. 8 years I've sat here. 130,000 kilometers of wind have passed through the snows. This truck is mine, but he does protect it.
Help extend the life of your engine with Castrol GTX High Mileage, specially formulated to protect against oil burn-off better than competitive leading oils.
Good man. Yes, nice man.
Help older cars feel young again with Castrol GTX High Mileage.
For muscle aches and pains, try new Rub A535 Dual Action Patch. Goes from cold to hot for deep penetrating relief. New Dual Action Rub A535 for cold to hot relief.
Al Giacalone was the injured St. Mary's player, and that could have an impact on what this Husky offense is able to do on this drive. It's 2nd and 5, St. Mary's. Pinella at the controls. It will be his final season. Will it be his final game? And it doesn't look as though first down yardage was attained by Les Mullings. Daryl Balzer, 39, was there to meet him from the middle linebacking spot, and it's a long 3rd down situation. So the punting unit goes on, led by Dan Lumley.
Yeah, Dan Lumley's done a terrific job punting today. You know, 10-10 ball game. Field position is going to be so critical here in the second half, and you know, the yards are going to be tougher and tougher later in the game with both defenses digging in, and with Lumley punting as well as he is, you know, he has a good chance to dig Saskatchewan into a deep hole now.
Lumley put one out at the 2-yard line earlier. And this one not as effective. It's a wobbly punt. Rolling down. And David returning, broke a tackle. Aaron David finally stopped by Tyrone Rowe. So it's 1st and 10, Saskatchewan.
2004 Mitchell Bowl on TSN is brought to you by Desjardins, proud partner of the 2004 Desjardins Vanier Cup.
And the Mitchell Bowl this afternoon in Saskatoon decides the final team to make it to the Vanier Cup a week from today at Ivor Stadium in Hamilton. Laval will be there, and one of these Husky teams will join Le Rouge et Or. First down, Saskatchewan. Nunweiler was the target. He only got one hand on the ball.
Well, you know, John, I'd given Dan Lumley, all kinds of credit, the St. Mary's punter, for having a great afternoon. And what does he do to me?
Yeah, well,
a 10-yard net on that one. So
messed you right up.
He did.
Second and 10, Saskatchewan.
Jack Maloney getting a lot of treatment there on the sidelines. Of course, they have the luxury of two solid running backs with Mullings as well.
This time he's on the money, and Pearson comes up with the catch. Derek Watson supplies the tackle on a nice pass by the all-conference quarterback, Steve Beeland.
There's Piercy, number 30, to the left. He just kind of gets caught up in the wash in there. Looks like he's blocking and then sneaks out, and it's no match for Dave Medlin, the linebacker, to try to chase him. And Beeland has really used the short passing game to perfection today. I don't think he's well enough with the stomach pull to really air it out consistently, but he's done the next best thing.
And he's used Nunweiler well, effectively again there. It'll be 5 yards anyway, and maybe 6 for Nunweiler on that carry.
Boy, they sure love that counter with the backside tackle coming across, pulling and trapping. And again, they've had good success in both tackles. Chris Sutherland on the left side, Jamie Summerfield on the right side, number 46, do a great job with their athletic ability to get around the corner and lead that play.
Tim Burris, an all-star, coming up with the tackle. Actually, the gain is 5 yards. Second and 5, Saskatchewan here out around midfield. Nice play action fake. Beeland goes deep. And flags are down. Far side. Darrell Watson on the coverage of Chad Rempel that time.
Chad Rempel comes in the 5-back receiving core. He goes out wide, and Hoffert, the wide receiver, moves to the slot. And there's the matchup to the outside. There's where the contact begins, and Rempel's trying to get away from Derek Watson, and whether they call holding or it definitely was a penalty.
Well, the flag is down, but they have continued to talk about the situation.
St. Mary's, number 11. More than 15 yards, it'll be a 15-yard penalty. First down, Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan set up near the 45-yard line with a first down. As a result, just nicely underway in the third quarter here at the Mitchell Bowl. Nunweiler. And he'll have a first down. Several big runs for Nunweiler, 16, 17 yards in the opening half. A couple of dashes there. Curtis Nash up to make the tackle. This time, a nice 11-yard pickup. So Saskatchewan moves the yardstick again.
Well, this offensive line we showed you earlier, it averages 291 pounds. It's a very athletic group. They get such a good push off the football at the snap. They allow Nunweiler just on the search play to pick his hole.
Saskatchewan from the 32, first down. Beeland has an open target and overthrew him about 6 yards. Looking for Chad Rempel again. So Rempel can't quite catch up to that one. He's a fifth-year player. In and out of the lineup this year because of injuries.
Well, he ran the out and up, and he spent just a little bit too much time on the out. Now he comes back and stays in the ball game. He is technically the 5th receiver. We mentioned that earlier. He'll go to the wide spot, and Nathan Hoffert will move back into the slot, number 3.
2nd and 10, Saskatchewan. St. Mary's 32. Beelan with time over the middle, and no catch. Rempel was the target again. And there wasn't much territory for Rempel. Anyway, and he made the catch. He was going to get hammered, wasn't he?
Well, he got hammered from Jim McDonald right there, 44. He's the sack leader on the team. And one more look. Number 10, Rempel, comes all the way across the field, sneaking underneath. And here's where you got to have a pretty big heart coming in there. And McDonald, who's frustrated, he hasn't been able to get near the quarterback today, said, you know what? I'm going to take my frustrations out on you, little guy.
Brendan Sukin from 36. Made one earlier, and this one looks a little ugly. Bouncing well short. Nash returning, and Piercy in on the tackle there.
Your chance to win during GM's Hot Button event. Come in and press the OnStar button and one of 150 hot new 05s could be yours. Plus up to $10,000 off purchase or lease on 04s and 05s.
We'll give him a minute.
Our biggest year-end celebration is on now.
Live the St. Mary's University experience in Halifax, Nova Scotia, one of Canada's most exciting cities. Maclean's and Canadian Business Magazine rank St. Mary's as one of the top 10 universities in the country. 200 years of excellence in higher education meets cutting-edge programs and research in arts, commerce, and science, and the latest technology. St. Mary's campus is wired with internet access ports everywhere students work, meet, and live in residence. St. Mary's University, everything you need is right here. Visit the campus online.
Tomorrow on TSN, it's the NFL. Green Bay against Houston coming your way at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific time. It's the NFL on TSN. And this afternoon, it's the Mitchell Bowl to decide the final finalists for the Vanier Cup to meet Laval next Saturday at Iberwin Stadium in Hamilton. All even right now. St. Mary's Huskies are first and 10. Beginning at the St. Mary's 13. Mullings breaks a tackle. And Esteen, he'll have a first down. Les Mullings, biggest run of the afternoon for him. Morley Miller leading the tacklers for Saskatchewan. Ray?
Al Giacalone is done for the afternoon, John. They're saying that sprained left ankle won't allow him to go back out and play. They did tape it up, and he did try walk on it. They actually even added a piece of additional foam that they tried to tape in on the outside of that ankle for some support, but he walked up and down the track here on the sidelines, and he's not going to be able to go back in.
And that's how Giacalone ended up on the sideline for the rest of the afternoon. First down, St. Mary's, and they go back to Mullings. Les Mullings had an outstanding regular season, averaging 5.4 yards a carry. He's got great hands as well as a conference all-star.
Pretty easy transition from high school to college for him. He went to St. Mary's in Hamilton. Now he's in St. Mary's in Halifax.
Yeah, the old logos would likely work, I'm guessing. Hey, St. Mary's to St. Mary's.
That doesn't show as well as he's a pretty good receiver out of the backfield should they choose to use him that way.
Nice play action fake, and this will work for a huge first down for St. Mary's. Woodley made the catch. Scheibel made the tackle. And St. Mary's moves the yardsticks. It'll be a 20-yard gain. Pinella had a slow start, but he's really come on.
And Woodley is the third receiver in on the trip side, has a nice knack of finding the soft spot. When St. Mary's has run trips, Saskatchewan has gone zone. Woodley's found some good holes in it, and when Pinella's had time, he's been able to complete those balls.
20-yard gain. Mullings again, and St. Mary's using the run and the pass effectively on this drive.
Well, Mullings is starting to make people miss, and I think that's what's going to happen for St. Mary's to have success on the ground. Brian Giebert, the fine defensive end for Saskatchewan, had him totally lined up in the backfield, but he just whiffed on it, and Mullings picked up some good yardage when it looked like he might not get anything.
8-yard gain. 2nd and 2, 7:31 to go, third quarter. It's all even at 10. Mullings breaks 2 tackles here and has plenty for the first down. Chris Eckert over to make the tackle, and it's been a Mullings drive so far.
Well, he's got great size, 6'1", 228 pounds. They tell me he's 4'6" in the 40, which is extremely fast, a smooth runner. But what I like that he's done on this drive is he has broken some tackles, and twice in a row against Brian Giebert, the outstanding defensive end, a former Saskatoon Hilltop, but Mullings has broken his tackle twice for good gains.
Interesting numbers for Mullings on the season: 391 yards along the ground and 444 receiving yards. So they found Les Mullings, and they've moved the ball effectively on this drive. Again, Saskatchewan with the early 10-0 lead. St. Mary's came back to tie it just prior to halftime, and we're halfway through the third quarter here now with St. Mary's moving into scoring position. St. Mary's, Steve Pinella has Les Mullings coming out of the backfield again. Big guy, tough to bring down. Giacalone is on the bench on the sidelines, and since he's been there, Mullings has taken over as the ace running back, and really they shared the position, or at least they shared the carries through much of the season, known as Thunder and Lightning on the East Coast.
Well, once again, Marco Melchoir, number 60, the defensive tackle, had an opportunity in the backfield, but the story on this drive is Les Mullings making people miss and breaking tackles, and Saskatchewan's defense, which had tackled so well in the first half, is now all of a sudden having a very sloppy series.
2nd down and 3, and there will be no first down as a result of the carry there by Mullings. So the thought process begins here, and I guess it's just a field goal try is all they've really got, because it's 3rd and almost 3, isn't it?
And real decision time, and I believe that Lumley, the punter, is coming in, and you know, I think this is a good call. If there is a wind to kick into, it is in the space of the St. Mary's Huskies in this third quarter. So I believe Blake Nell is either going to pull a little trick here, or he's just going to try to pooch one. Remember, in university football, if you kick it into the end zone, you only have to get it out to the 1-yard line, and then it would come out to the 20, and you don't give up a single. And in fact, excuse me, they are going for the field goal.
It'll be Lumley holding. And on the money is Davalos. So for the first time this afternoon, it is St. Mary's on top on the scoreboard. St. Mary's leading Saskatchewan 13-10.
We combined a wireless notebook with a complete home entertainment center you can take anywhere. Which leaves only one question. The new Toshiba Cosmeo with Intel Centrino mobile technology. Look
Look at him. He thinks this is his truck. Nah, he's wrong. This is my truck. 8 years I've sat here. 130,000 kilometers of wind have passed through this nose. This truck is mine, but he does protect it.
Help extend the life of your engine with Castrol GTX High Mileage, specially formulated to protect against oil burn-off better than competitive leading oils.
Good man. Yes, nice man.
Help older cars feel young again with Castrol GTX High Mileage.
Design and print your own covers. Nokia, connecting people.
Welcome back. It's the Mitchell Bowl. St. Mary's University Huskies against the University of Saskatchewan Huskies. And the winner today will go against Laval Rouge et Or in the Vanier Cup next Saturday in Hamilton. Numbers to call: 1-866-4-VANIER, or on the web, www.vaniercup.com. So there's how to get information on the Vanier Cup. And at Waterloo, Laurier in mourning today after a loss to Laval Rouge et Or. Ashley Wells and all those Golden Hawks supporters a little down, I would imagine.
Well, that Rouge et Or is a wonderful program, and they're a tough football team, and obviously played very, very well this afternoon.
Tough running against this Husky defense, but congratulations to Laurier on a wonderful season, unbeaten through the regular Ontario Conference, and knocking off McMaster to get there to take on Laval. And there's next year for a pretty good program at Laurier and the Golden Hawks, having an outstanding season, coming up just that one win short of a Vanier. Second and 6, Saskatchewan. This will work. First down. And Ripple making the catch. As Steve Phelan finds the range again, and Matt Fox comes up to make the tackle for St. Mary's, leading by 3.
And they tried this play a couple of series ago. It's just a drag underneath to Rempel all the way from his wide receiver spot. And, you know, he's got a pretty big heart to come in here with those big fellows, and they get a first down. Interesting to watch Saskatchewan and Brian Towers' team. First time they've been behind in this entire football game, and, you know, they have to try to respond to that.
St. Mary's has scored the last 13 points after Saskatchewan opened with a 10-0 advantage. Draw play. Nunweiler. Huge game. Down to the 40-yard line. Chad Nunweiler out of the Hilltop program just 3 weeks ago. And Curtis Nash came up to make the tackle. This guy's tough to bring down.
Yeah, I love the call. They just start to get something going. The drop. A good block on the left side. Left guard Michael Lewis, number 59, opened the way for Nunweiler. And all of a sudden, Saskatchewan finds themselves into St. Mary's territory and working their way into good scoring position.
19-yard gain. And more yardage here. Saskatchewan. Sheeman makes the catch. Triakopoulos, the tackle. Lots of weapons in this Saskatchewan offense, and they haven't used them all yet. Sheeman with 32 catches, 6 touchdowns, 514 yards on the season. An 18-yard gain there. Full house at Griffith Stadium. There was early movement, and St. Mary's likely not back onside on time because the flags came down. Nunweiler, the ball carrier, one more time. And Clovis makes the tackle. Maybe this is going against Saskatchewan, the way they're walking back, that they draw. St. Mary's offside. Looks like it.
Illegal procedure. Saskatchewan number 63. First down repeated.
Well, Chris Sutherland, the left tackle. There you see him on the far side. A little jump early.
So it'll be 1st and 15. And this will be a first down, Saskatchewan. Complete to Drew Kendall. Clovis again over to make the tackle, and Phelan has found the mark again. He's found his rhythm. 18 yards there. They needed 15.
Trips to the field. Drew Kendall is the middle receiver, number 78. He's had a good game today. This is his 4th catch. But what he does is let guys clear out. He's in the middle. There he is. He'll stop, work back to the inside. A little confusion downfield, almost like a rub or a pick from Sheeman. Kendall with the catch and a first down on 1st and 15. That's a nice conversion.
3:14 to go, 3rd quarter. Saskatchewan in scoring range now, looking to answer the field goal by St. Mary's. Timeout at Griffith Stadium. It's the Mitchell Bowl from Saskatoon.
Coast is clear. Go. Okay, you've got 2 minutes. What are you doing? You should be out of there. Get out.
Can you resist it?
Nice drive here. Leaf started back at the Saskatchewan 35, and 7 plays later, they're set up inside scoring range here, definitely in the green zone.
Well, it was interesting. I said earlier as they began the drive that first time they've been behind today, and interesting to see how they would respond. And Brian Towers' team has put a well-executed drive together.
1st and 10 at the St. Mary's 12-yard line as play is whistled in again. Steve Beelan, the all-conference quarterback for Saskatchewan, looks to the corner, and Nunweiler couldn't get there in time. Chad Nunweiler was the intended receiver, or at least the closest Saskatchewan receiver to the ball.
Well, they ran the wheel routes on both sides. Wheel meaning the back on one side and the slot back on the other. Go to the flat and then up, trying to hit the home run. Beelan has had a good game. Those are his numbers. However, the long ball has not been his forte today. He's been much better in the controlled underneath passing game.
So it's 2nd and 10 from the 12. Beelan looks to the end zone. This is easy. Touchdown. Sheeman makes the catch, and he got in behind the cover. No doubt about that one. They set it up perfectly.
Well, there's Jeff Sheeman, number 8. He's highlighted on the inside. Watch, he has lots of room. He's got position to the outside against the middle safety, Kirakopoulos. No match for Kirakopoulos to stay with Sheeman to the corner. A perfect throw by Beelan. And the Huskies from Saskatchewan jump back on top.
Those are the Prairie Dogs taking on the Sea Dogs from Atlantic Canada. It's 17-13. It's been a great Mitchell Bowl already.
Come on, babe. It'll just be 2 short weeks.
I know. I'm just gonna miss you so much.
Listen, freeing circus bears in Calcutta is the most selfless thing I can do.
You're so right. I'm so proud of you.
So, we're cool?
Yeah, we're cool.
Cool. Oh, my passport. Would you?
course.
You're the best.
Win a road trip game card inside specially marked PlayStation 2 products at EB Games for a chance to win 2 weeks in the PlayStation RV. See store for details.
Pookie?
This Christmas, check the Canadian Tire Flyer to find great gift ideas for the car nut who likes to speed things up. Like the Mastercraft Crank Speed Ratchet.
This may look like an ordinary ratchet, but there's nothing ordinary about it. It tightens and loosens fasteners in very tight spaces quickly because you can twist it like a screwdriver. Just keep twisting back and forth. It turns continuously one way as you crank both ways. That means you're tightening or loosening with no wasted motion. No sweep required, and it's fast. You can also bend the handle for even greater speed. But the Mastercraft Crank Speed Ratchet is just getting warmed up. Watch this. Extend the shaft, bend the handle, and see how the Crank Speed Ratchet performs much faster than ordinary ratchets. Now that was fast.
The Mastercraft Crank Speed Ratchet Kit, only $39.99. A great gift idea for any do-it-yourselfer, only at Canadian Tire.
There's the touchdown maker, Jeff Sheeman, from 12 yards out.
Well, a good throw. Beeline's looking for Sheeman all the way because he's got the matchup that he wants. His slot against the middle safety with all kinds of room to the outside, and the fans love it.
Not much enthusiasm here at all, is there, when you look at that reception that he got in the end zone. Kickoff bouncing down to the St. Mary's Huskies, and who comes up with this one? It will be St. Mary's ball, first down.
Well, I'll tell you, that was a pretty drive. Saskatchewan responded nicely to St. Mary's taking the lead, and they did it quite nicely on a 9-play, 75-yard drive, and Sheeman capped it off with his 12-yard touchdown reception. And I guess, Wellesley, this is all you can expect in a Mitchell Bowl, is to have it go back and forth into the second half in a close game. It's been a dandy.
Yeah, two really good football programs, no question about that. And we're a long way from done here in Saskatoon. St. Mary's comes right back on a connection to Mako. McCulchuk, Jess McCulchuk, number 35, over to make the tackle.
And this St. Mary's receiving corps, I'm really impressed with them today. They know in man-to-man when to run hard to try to beat the coverage one-on-one, and they certainly recognize the zones, and all these receivers know how to find the soft spots. These are two teams that execute their offense very, very well.
Mullings grabbed from behind, and there may be no gain or little gain on that play with 1:48 to go, third quarter. Ryan Gottslig, a fourth-year Husky from Findlater, Saskatchewan.
You know, it's been interesting here in the second half, and we'll go back one more time. Gottslig, who's been very active as a defensive tackle today, runs it down from behind, but it's... And again, we're going to have a minute to set it up because the Saskatchewan player just went down, but it's really been interesting in this second half. Any second and long situation, Saskatchewan's been very content not to put a lot of heat on the quarterback, but to sit back and try to play some disciplined zones and get back in their drops. But St. Mary's has done a great job to find the hole. So when we come back, we shall see on the second and long situation what kind of defense the Huskies will oppose the other Huskies with.
I got it.
Wow, new cherry Pepto. I love cherries.
Now there's a Pepto flavor everyone will love, and that's reason to dance. Cherry Pepto. Look for it today.
Gold, oh glorious gold. Men have traveled great distances for it, battled for it, treasured it. Wow, wow. This gold, this glorious gold, bright, crisp, clean and pure. The benchmark of all that is worthy. It's your kingdom. Consider yourself a wealthy man. Budweiser, king of beers.
Oh, new cherry Pepto. I love cherries.
Now there's a Pepto flavor everyone will love, and that's reason to dance. Cherry Pepto. Look for it today.
Injury timeout here at Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon. And Brian Giebert is the latest player being helped off the field.
Yeah, there you see him highlighted. He just kind of gets steamrolled by the entire pack here. And that's always ugly when you get that leg. Finn Giebert, Uncle Phil, was the starting safety for the University of Saskatchewan back in the late 80s.
Terrific history in both programs. Gene Mikowski, who was named the CFL Lineman of the Year as a graduate of this Huskies program. Second down. Completion made. Mullings has the head of steam. He'll get a first down here. Les Mullings grabbed from behind and dragged to the turf by Tyson Craig. But that play developed really well for St. Mary's, did it not?
Yes, it did. And you know what I said, going to break, it'll be interesting to see the philosophies coming back on second long. Well, you know what? Steve Piniella and his offense guessed right. They got his own defense, and that's a great defense to run the screen against. You get your blockers out in front, and when everybody dropped deep for Saskatchewan, there was all kinds of room for Les Mullings to find the open area. But a great call against what they anticipated to see on defense.
Smooth run for Les Mullings for a 20-yard gain. He gets it again. Tougher running inside for number 15, but he's got a couple there. Craigs makes the stop there, and Mullings was not used a whole bunch in the first half, but they found a way to make him an effective receiver and a rusher here. He has 3 yards on the last play.
Well, watch Giacalone when Mullings had to carry the load, and I mean, that was just a spectacular call on second and long to go to the screen, and you know, they're faced with that same situation again.
The screen worked on second and long last time from the shotgun. The quarterback has run effectively on occasion, and Steve Piniella will have another first down. He's chosen his spots carefully and well, hasn't he, to take off with the ball.
Yes, he has, and you know what? When you only rush 4 and drop 8, you know, that's what you're thinking. You're either thinking, I'm going to complete a ball quickly, or if nothing's open, I've got lots of room now. Gottselig, number 65, there he is. I mean, he has the chance. He's in the right lane. He gets the push. Now, he's thinking quarterback run. He's got a chance to make the play right there. But Pinella's just elusive enough to get those extra few yards to pick up the first down.
St. Mary's looking to answer the Saskatchewan touchdown. First down. Turner routes, end zone jump ball. No catch. Deep in the end zone. 2 officials down there looking at Fraser O'Neill, who was the intended target, and Ryan Barnstable was covering number 1 for Saskatchewan. So it's no catch in the corner, and that is the final play of the third quarter, with Saskatchewan leading by 4 and 15 minutes to go in the Mitchell Bowl.
This Sports Center update is brought to you by Intel. Look for PCs based on the Intel Pentium 4 processor with HT technology to enable an incredible digital experience in the home.
Hello again from the Sports Center newsroom. I'm Rod Smith. The 4th quarter of the Mitchell Bowl is coming up, but first a look at what happened earlier in the UTEC Bowl. Laval and Laurier, and Geronimo Huerta Flores had a big first half, couple of rushing TDs, 18-1 Laval at the half, and in the second half it continued. William Leclerc tossing one deep down the sideline for Matthew LeBlanc, who hauls it in and does the rest. 30-11. Laval wins, the defending national champs, off to the Vanier again. Ugly in Detroit last night in an NBA game between the Pacers and Pistons. It was called with less than a minute to go because of a major brawl, players and fans getting into it. The NBA officially suspending Ron Artest, Ben Wallace, Stephen Jackson, and Jermaine O'Neal indefinitely. We'll have much more coming up in the early edition of Sports Center at 6 Eastern.
Never will there be an Alexander like you, Alexander the Great.
Each victory has its price.
Conquer your fear! You'll conquer death!
Alexander, be reasonable.
Alexander. Starts Wednesday, November 24th.
So I can't decide on Steve's present. Either a digital camera or a day at the spa.
Excellent. Has he ever had a pedicure?
No.
Oh, go for the spa day.
Over the digital camera?
Oh, yeah. Guys love having their feet fussed over.
Yeah, you're right. You'll love it.
From digital cameras to laptops, everything they really want is right here. Future Shop.
We have so many flights every business day in North America to where you need to be. It's easier to end the day where you want to be.
Right now, pick up a free Wood Pro kit at a steel dealer near you. Get real power. Steel. Built to last. Priced to sell.
Back at Griffith Stadium, Saskatoon, the Mitchell Bowl continues and 1 quarter remains. Here are the numbers through 3.
Yeah, and St. Mary's has really fought their way back nicely in this game. Through 2 quarters of play, it was all Saskatchewan. St. Mary's has come back. They trail by 4 here to begin the 4th quarter, but they are in scoring territory. And hey, look at these numbers. It's been a well-played game.
Les Mulling's a big part of the story for St. Mary's in the comeback. Saskatchewan leads 17-13, 4th quarter begins. Huge hit, catch made. As Piniella got it away at the last possible second and paid the price. But he'll move the yardsticks. Olaf Tomiak making the catch there in heavy traffic.
Well, a good job to make himself a target for his quarterback. Tommy Yuck did a nice job when the fun started. Piniella bought himself a little extra time. And boy, all these plays now are so critical. You know, you're not going to get that many chances, and Piniella really has to take advantage of this one.
St. Mary's with a first down at the Saskatchewan 11. Les Mullings, it's about halfway toward the end zone from there. Ray?
Brian Giebert's injury, a torn MCL. He is done. We talk about all the players that the University of Saskatchewan Huskies have been able to make use of from the Saskatoon Hilltops. So Brian Giebert was another one of those, and they're going to miss him. Guys.
Yeah, that doesn't look good there. And Brian's a great player, and you hate to see that happen.
2nd and goal to go from the 5. Actually, St. Mary's can get a first down at the 1-yard line, but it's 2nd down and 5 to go here.
Now, it's interesting.
4, actually.
Piniella is having trouble getting those signals called. I mean, this is a very boisterous crowd here at Griffith Stadium, and I'm not so sure that didn't bother him, but what a critical error down in this scoring range. And
procedure call flips it to 2nd down and 9 now.
Oh, yeah, they were certainly with their running game and that big offensive line that averages 311. You'd think that they were in 3-down territory there, and now I don't know.
St. Mary's can still get a first down without scoring the touchdown at the 1. Piniella goes to the end zone and fires too high for Curtis Woodley. Scheibel, the safety, was covering him, but Scheibel didn't have to make a play. The ball was high.
Well, it was the pass rush that really forced the ball to be thrown high. Woodley was open right there. There you see him 4, but he has to climb the ladder, and he cannot get to the football. Scheibel was there in coverage, but had that ball been thrown a little lower, I think he was open and might have made the catch.
Davalos into the game for St. Mary's. Good on field goals of 19 and 37 so far. He's 2 for 2. Short chip shot, and and make that 3 for 3. So St. Mary's creeps a little closer, but Saskatchewan hangs on to a 1-point lead.
Introducing the Acura RL. With voice-activated technology, 300 horsepower, and the world's most advanced all-wheel drive, it shifts power to exactly where you need it for magnetic-like handling. The road will never be the same. The all-new Acura RL.
Right now, you can pick up a Steel BG55 blower for just $229.95 at a Steel dealer near you. Get real power. Steel, built to last, priced to sell.
That's me, Jay, over 20 years ago, enjoying my McCain Super Fries. Still do today. Didn't say much back then. And look at all these different varieties of McCain Premium Super Fries. Spicy, extra crispy, great tasting potato, with all the flavor and crispiness we love. It's also good to know that they're all made with 100% non-hydrogenated canola oil.
McCain Premium Super Fries. All the flavor and crispness you love with 100% non-hydrogenated pure canola oil. Consider it the next generation.
You would never hear this from John, but he owns the best car repair shop in town. He's got a well-deserved reputation for getting it right the first time. He listens to his customers. He uses top-quality Napa parts with their 12-month, 20,000-kilometer parts and labor warranty. He's also authorized to provide new car scheduled maintenance. A shop like John's isn't this good because there's an Auto Pro sign out front. Fact is, there's an Auto Pro sign out front because John's shop is this good.
Mom, when somebody sneezes, you say bless you, right?
Right.
Then what are you supposed to say when somebody coughs?
Robitussin.
To help stop a bad cough, respond with the strength of Robitussin.
Robitussin. Robitussin.
And it's bless you for coughs.
Yeah.
To help stop a bad cough, respond with the strength of Robitussin.
Robitussin.
We're in for a great finish here in Saskatoon this afternoon, and the Amazing Race continues on CTV. Coming your way on Tuesday. Don't miss a new episode. The Amazing Race Tuesday at 9/8 Central Time on CTV. Well, we couldn't ask for much more. In the Mitchell Bowl, two fine football programs, toe-to-toe. Early lead for Saskatchewan. St. Mary's with 10 unanswered points in the second quarter to get even.
Well, it's interesting, John. There's the line score. You couldn't have it much closer than that. The University of Saskatchewan Huskies now in this fourth quarter, when the wind is picking up just a little bit, and they are working into the wind in the fourth quarter here. So if it comes down to a kick, you know, I think St. Mary's is going to have the advantage with Davalos because he's got a little breeze behind him, and actually it is kicking up a little bit more.
Saskatchewan with a first down beginning this drive at the 35. Nunweiler more than halfway to a first down. Tim McDonald 44 to make the tackle there. What's on the line? A berth in the Vanier. And the Vanier Cup goes next Saturday afternoon at Iverwind Stadium in Hamilton. Boy, that's a great looking ballpark, the new scoreboard. Nice to see the Vanier outdoors, you know, just for a little change of pace. And we know Laval will be there against the Huskies. It's whether the Huskies are wearing green or maroon. Low, but the catch is made through Kendall. On second down, and the spot will be interesting, but he's very close, and he will get the first down.
Kendall's been a terrific possession receiver for the Saskatchewan team this afternoon. He's caught 5 balls and mostly all over the middle in traffic and really helped his quarterback out. Those are the numbers. Not a lot of yardage, but very dependable and usually in second down situations.
Steve Beelan getting his first playoff opportunity of 2004 after sitting out the first 2 games because of injury. Nunweiler stopped in the backfield on first down. breaking through to make the tackle. Tim Burris, number 59, an Atlantic Conference All-Star.
Well, Tim Burris is an interesting story. He's right on the nose of the center there, and he'll just slash through, follow down the line. They've seen this counter trap about 6 times today, but Blake Mill was a guest coach with the Ottawa Renegades this year, and he got a good look at Jerome Haywood, about 5'9", 320. He thought, Tim Burris is that kind of player. I'm going to stick him on the nose, just like Ottawa does with Haywood, and they've had great success.
Burris creates a loss of 3, 2nd and 13, Saskatchewan. How about that? Jeff Piercy with the catch for the first down. Curtis Nash made the tackle, or Piercy would have had extra yardage. Piercy with the game's first touchdown, capping off a 10-play, 90-yard drive on the opening sequence for Saskatchewan. Gain of 15, Nunweiler. And he has been the workhorse for this Saskatchewan offense.
But I think Nunweiler would be the first to say that my offensive line has done an excellent job in front of me. They are a very, very athletic group. We had it up earlier. They averaged 6'3", 291, and that's what's allowed Nunweiler to have 145 yards into this fourth quarter.
Another 8 yards there. 2nd and 2, Saskatchewan here. Out across midfield and into St. Mary's territory. It's Nunweiler again. And maybe a yard this time as he ran into McDonald. Tim McDonald, 44. So this could be decision time for Saskatchewan. We'll see where they spot the ball exactly here.
Well, you know, it's funny, I can't really remember Saskatchewan being in a real 2nd and long situation. It seems like with Nunweiler and the short passing game, Brian Towers' team has had 2nd and short this entire second half.
Yeah, we'll take a closer look. Measurement is requested. Under beautiful blue skies in Saskatchewan today, a yard shy.
Well, this will be interesting. They got a 1-point lead. They're around the 43-yard line of St. Mary's, and they have made their decision. Bombs away.
Bombs, well, maybe not bombs.
No, I meant bombs away. Like, you know what I meant.
I know what you meant. But I think with the running game that has been going effectively for Saskatchewan of late, we'll keep an eye on number 31 here. And Nunweiler.
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe not. St. Mary's says maybe not this time. We'll see the spot here. Nunweiler got a good jump on it, but
the spot is
St. Mary's
crucial.
reacted well.
This is close.
It's very close. This is a huge play with 9:44 to go.
Well, Nunweiler sure hit the hole hard, but there was good penetration. Fox was in there, the middle linebacker. One more look, and you know, as a defense, you try to get underneath the pads of the offense. And by a hair.
Never a doubt, was there?
No. Not if you're Brian Towers.
Full house here at Griffith Stadium today. They're talking about building a new football facility on campus here at the University of Saskatchewan.
A new rink.
And a new rink. Apparently the money is sort of in place. And they're hoping that work will get underway shortly for the new rink and the new stadium. First down, Saskatchewan, long toss. This looks great. Couldn't hang on. Nathan Hoffert was in behind the coverage, and Curtis Nash supplied that.
Well, it's almost like Steve Wieland said, I've lulled these guys to sleep. Now's the time to go over the top, and he had Hoffert open. Good play by Nash to get his hand in there and distract him just enough that he couldn't come up with a catch. But I sure like the call by Wieland. He's been nickel and diming them, and at some point in time, it's good to test it out and go over the top.
Steve Wieland and the Huskies of Saskatchewan face 2nd and 10. Beelan has had time all day, and he'll get a connection here with the penalty flag coming down and the coverage by Birthright. Drew Kendall comes up with another catch.
He has been the possession weapon for that receiving core of Steve Beelan today, and although I think they're going to call interference as well on St. Mary's, he's the middle receiver in trips to the field. A little move to the outside, and watch the contact right here, and I mean, he still comes up with the catch.
It'll be a 14-yard gain. Saskatchewan keeps this drive going.
27 St. Mary's. Decline. First down, Saskatchewan.
9:01 to go. Still lots of time for points from both teams in a one-point game. Saskatchewan leading by 1 at 17-16. This looks good. As far as the pass was going, but he was a little off the target looking for Kendall. Birthright was back there covering.
You know, John, we talked about this offensive line for the U of S. And what a good athletic job they've done running the football. But you know what? They've done a pretty darn good job protecting for their quarterback. I mean, Beelan had all kinds of time to throw again with nobody in his face.
And Beelan looks at another 2nd and 10 situation here. There was movement. There are flags. And another flag flies there on the tackle. Nunweiler, the ball carrier, and it looked like early movement from St. Mary's, and then something in the middle of the pile there for the second flag to come down. One point separating these two Husky teams from St. Mary's and Saskatchewan. And a berth in the Vanier next Saturday against Laval on the line. In the middle of things.
Well, Clayton Chirka, 63, has got the face mask there. You see it right there. So.
Offside, St. Mary's. Unnecessary roughness. 63, St. Mary's on the face mask. First down, Saskatchewan.
Chirka on the face mask, no question about that. Double penalties against SMU, and Saskatchewan moves a little closer to the goal line. First and 10, Saskatchewan at the St. Mary's 11. Looked easy. Piercy has his second touchdown of the day. Jeff Piercy got open. Steve Beelan found him. And a couple of easy touchdown tosses, or at least Beelan has made them look easy. First to Sheeman. And then this one to Piercy.
Well, Piercy, there he is. He's highlighted there as the lead blocker on play action. There's the fake. It freezes the linebackers. And as he scored like on his first touchdown early in the game, same play, same results. Jeff Piercy with his second touchdown of the game.
So Saskatchewan moves into an 8-point lead. It's 24-16 at the Mitchell Bowl.
The GMC Sierra with Duramax diesel and Allison transmission. Legendary torque.
Introducing the GMC Canyon. With a surprisingly powerful inline 5-cylinder engine, you might just forget it's a midsize.
Okay,
Screws, under an inch, go here. Over an inch, coffee can. Nuts and bolts I keep in the jars, unless they're under an inch, in which case they go here. Now, books are an exception.
With the Home Handyman Hardware Caddy, all your fasteners go in one convenient spot. It comes with over 1,000 pieces, and you can take it with you anywhere. Get it for $19.97, only at Home Hardware.
Now, nails are a different story.
Home Hardware and Home Building Center. Help is close to home.
There's a yellow rose in Texas that I am gonna see. No other cowboy knows her, no cowboy, only me. She cried so when I left her, it nearly broke my heart. And if I ever find her, we never more will.
International Texas Chicken Thin Crust Pizza. New from McCain. Taste being there.
Looking ahead to next Saturday, the Huskies will be there against Laval Rouge. Or the question remains, are those Huskies from SMU or from the University of Saskatchewan? Vanier Cup tickets available at 1-866-4-VANIER or on the web at vaniercup.com. Full house here at Griffith Stadium. And the University of Saskatchewan Huskies opened with a 10-0 lead. They have now come back to take an 8-point advantage with 8 minutes and 3 seconds remaining. Couple of touchdowns in the second half for Saskatchewan to take the advantage. Les Mullings returning for St. Mary's, set up somewhere around the 35. An impressive scoring drive by Saskatchewan a couple of times today, Lee.
Well, John, they haven't been cheap drives like big home runs. I mean, these have been 9-play, 8-play, and now 11-play drives, 75 yards. They chew up a lot of time on the clock, and Steve Wieland has really executed his offense so well and has used the short passing game and a solid running game to have Brian Towers' team up by 8.
Side, 25 Saskatchewan on the kickoff. Kickoff will be repeated.
So they'll re-kick this with the offside call against Saskatchewan. You know, when you look at the long drives, those are the drives that football coaches love, right?
Well, sure.
I mean, fans like a nice 75-yard pass, and pass and run play, something more along those lines. But football coaches look at all aspects of the game, and they think about the time, as you're talking about there. And
the big thing is, as an offense, I mean, when you have drives like that, you get in such a great rhythm.
Yeah, you know, and the balance of it, too, with the pass and the run. And all football coaches smile at that.
Well, Les Mullings 15. He could take it to the house at any time with his speed, but St. Mary's got lots of time left on the clock.
Huge hits. Well covered. Balzer leading the tacklers for Saskatchewan. Daryl Balzer has had a day, no question about that. He'll remain on the field as the middle linebacker for Saskatchewan. He's in his final year, conference all-star.
I would hope. He's 29 years old. I hope he's in his final year.
Mullings breaks the tackle. Flags are down. Talked about Gene Mikowski, Leaf, as a famous grad from recent years of this Saskatchewan program. And the St. Mary's guys are quick to point out that one of the guys who graduated from their group a few years back is having a terrific year, and that's Noah Cantor, who has just been outstanding all season long.
Holding St. Mary's number 57. First down repeated.
Well, Noah Cantor and Gene Mikowski both named to the All-CFL All-Star team yesterday.
So graduates of these two programs have gone on to great things, and there are a lot more guys who've come through these programs as well, but just two of the recent grads of Husky teams, East and West. Saskatchewan's defense rises up to the occasion with 7:19 to go.
Well, I'll tell
Mullings was the ball carrier.
You really get the sense an 11-play drive, Saskatchewan goes ahead by 8, and now that holding penalty was absolutely crucial because it would have either been a first down or second and short. All of a sudden, 1st and 20, and a lot easier to play defense. And you don't think this is a tough game? Look at the scrapes on that helmet there of Marco Melchoir. It's been physical up front. We expected that. We knew it would happen.
Critical play for St. Mary's here at 2nd and 20. And no one home. Mullings was the closest receiver to the pass from Steve Piniella.
And U of S really squeezed down that zone on 2nd and long, and you just sit back there, read the quarterback, and really there was no place for Piniella to go. Once you're backed up and you're at 1st and 20, you're asking a lot of your offense to try to convert that.
And 2nd and 20, well, even a little more panic in the minds of the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. St. Mary's set to kick it away. And Saskatchewan waiting out near the 45 with 2 returners set. A one hopper taken by Heron. That's Leighton Heron. And excellent field position for Saskatchewan to begin this drive with 6:13 to go.
The 2004 Mitchell Bowl on TSN is brought to you in part by Tissot Swiss Watches since 1853. Tissot, innovators by tradition. By Via Rail, people moving people. By Budweiser, king of beers. By Pizza Pizza. And by Magma Communications, www.magma.ca. Demand more, demand better, get Magma.
Steve Beelan and the Saskatchewan Huskies looking to take a little time off the clock here. Chad Nunweiler not successful, at least overly so, with that carry. In fact, he's right back to the line of scrimmage and stop right there.
But, you know, John, lots of time just counting down under 5:40 remaining. So for St. Mary's, you know, you think stop here and the punter would be kicking into the wind. I mean, all is not lost. You trail by 8. Lots of time on the clock, but for Blake Nill, I mean, they cannot afford to let Saskatchewan get into one of those long drives again. I think on defense, you may have to start gambling a little bit. They've had no pressure whatsoever on Beelan today.
St. Mary's defense good on the first down there. What a catch! Sheeman has made big plays today. That's his biggest of the afternoon. He did have the touchdown earlier, but this one gives Saskatchewan a shot at a field goal at the very least here.
And this was all Sheeman. He adjusted to the football. Curtis Nash couldn't locate it. Beelan saw an empty hole in the middle. He threw the football there, hoping his receiver could make the adjustment. He did, and that is an outstanding play.
Jeff Sheeman, a Canada West All-Star in 2004. Big catch there. Nunweiler right side. Head of steam, and he's got great yardage here, pounding it out against the St. Mary's defense. It'll be a first down, Saskatchewan. And Matt Fox was in on the stop there on Nunweiler.
Well, once again, John, it's the athletic ability of the offensive line that counter. Let's highlight one more time Chris Sutherland, the left tackle. Watch him. A false step to the left, back to the right. Watch how this big guy, all 285 pounds, leads around the corner, gets a block on Matt Fox. You can't say enough about this offensive line. Sutherland, he's the leader on that group. Brian Towers told us that yesterday. He has had himself a whale of a football game.
And your magic spotlight is working very effectively this afternoon.
Yeah. We just kind of invented that before the game. I didn't have the telestrator, so I said to the guys, what can we do? And they said, well, you know what, every once in a while, if we're quick enough, we can highlight and feature some of these guys. And I'm glad we've highlighted Chris Sutherland because his athletic ability today has been phenomenal.
It's been a hard-hitting game. Another player being tended to on the field. It is Jeff Sheeman who made that critical first down catch for Saskatchewan.
Well, going back to Sutherland just for a second to think, I mean, he's 6'5", 325 he's listed at. That means he's probably a little bit bigger, but to have that kind of quickness and agility when you run the counter with your backside tackle pulling around the corner, you're asking a lot, and boy, oh boy, he's had some jets in him today.
4 catches, 76 yards for Sheeman on the afternoon. His longest 30 yards. He has the 1 touchdown. So the ball is on the 13. First and 10, Saskatchewan. Behind his intended receiver. And that was Graham Bell, who gets an opportunity to get into the game. This guy's had a tough year because of injuries. He's in his 5th year, blew out a knee in week 3, and he just draws back into the lineup for this game. They were going to use him on special teams or special assignments this afternoon, and timing was a little off after all that time on the sidelines for Graham Bell. .4:11 to go. 2nd and 10, Saskatchewan. End zone toss, and there's Graham Bell open in the end zone, number 25 with a touchdown catch. He was the guy who was to be one of the 2 running backs to start this season for Saskatchewan. In fact, he did. And then he gets an opportunity to come back. He's a 5th-year player, and that's a huge catch for a guy who's been around this program and hurt all season.
Well, there he is in the middle, a little move to the inside, absolutely freezes the defensive back first right. He can't stay with him, and that's a heck of a catch. And, you know, give Steve Beeland credit. They needed to seal the deal with that drive, and methodically they took it downfield, once again mixing so nicely the pass and the run, John. And, you know, they're making it tough for St. Mary's right now.
5 plays to cover 54 yards, and Graham Bell finds the end zone on his first game back.
The all-new 2005 Hyundai Tucson with one of Canada's best warranties. Perfect for whatever, whenever.
Rated T for teen.
Hey, Jack. How do you make a half-blind dovetail?
Well, I'd start with a thick drawer front, then rip a fat 1/4-inch slab off, then plane both sides of the piece.
And Jack, ever stud your meat? Because guys have other things they'd rather think about than cooking. There's Campbell's Chunky Chicken Noodle Soup, studded with big chunks of seasoned chicken, made with pasta and vegetables, built with 9 grams of protein. Campbell's Chunky, fully constructed.
The 2004 Mitchell Bowl on TSN is brought to you in part by Steel, makers of the world's #1 selling chainsaw, and a full line of outdoor power equipment. By the Toshiba Cosmeo, a wireless notebook and portable home entertainment center all in one. And by Campbell's Chunky Soup. Campbell's Chunky, fully constructed.
4:01 remaining. Saskatchewan with 3 touchdowns in the second half for a 31-16 lead on St. Mary's. So it's a long way back for the Sea Dogs against the Prairie Dogs in the Husky showdown for the Mitchell Bowl championship here in Saskatoon today.
Well, John, it was interesting. It was 10-10 at the half, and St. Mary's went ahead in the third quarter 13-10. But now Saskatchewan, it's been all them since they lost the lead.
Out to the 40-yard line. Curtis Nash on the return. Tyson Craig supplying the tackle there. So for Blake Nell and St. Mary's, a couple of quick touchdowns. touchdowns are necessary to get back in this one. Trailing 31-16, down by 15, 1 touchdown. And 1 touchdown with the 2-point convert. That's a tall order with this fired-up Saskatchewan team playing very well both sides of the ball right now. Beats on the quarterback. He escapes. Pinella stopped after a gain of about 5. He's run well a couple of occasions. Chris Eckert coming up with the tackle.
You know what, John? One of the disappointing things to me, and they're going to take a timeout, or there's an injury rather. One of the disappointing things to me about St. Mary's is today, and there's a shot of Fraser O'Neill, number 80. They've thrown the ball to him 1 time. He made a spectacular catch down the sidelines for 40 yards, a one-hander. And, you know, we talked about him in the opening. He's 6'4", 205, 4.5 speed. He's a track guy. He's their best receiver. And when you're the best receiver, you've got to find a way to get him the football. And I think when they analyze their season and look to next year, you know, Blake Nill and his offensive people have got to move this guy around. Put him in the number 3 in the slot, trips to the field, put him at number 2. But don't just stick him out as wide receiver to the wide side of the field, because that's always a tough throw for your quarterback. So in my opinion, they're going to have to do something different to take advantage of this guy's talent, sir. They're just wasting it.
He has 4.5 speed. You talked about that. Great hands. And he has the size as well. 37 catches, 361 yards, and 4 touchdowns on the season.
But see here again, he's at the top of the screen there, and way up to the left. He's wide side, up against sidelines. Now, what kind of throw is it going to take to get him the football?
A long one.
Yeah.
Exactly. Steve Pinella looks to the other side on 2nd and 5, and a penalty was down. So is Pinella. Olaf Tomiak. Well, the trophy is here for presentation this afternoon.
Yeah, former CFL Commissioner Doug Mitchell was here for the ceremonial kickoff, and I suspect he will be awarding the Mitchell Cup. Mitchell Bull. Why does it say Cup there?
Face mask, number 54, St. Mary's. 2nd down repeated.
That's Isaac Robinson. It's a rebuilding year for St. Mary's. His team with 5 wins and 3 losses, and then the big win last week in the playoff game over Acadia in the snow. Pinella looks at 2nd and a whole bunch necessary. And they found Fraser O'Neill there. A little late, perhaps. It was 2nd and long. As a result of the penalty with 2:56 to go.
Well, I know he's frustrated, and in a lot of ways I don't blame him. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but I think they've got to find a better way to use him.
Third down, St. Mary's set to kick it away. Saskatchewan receivers standing back near the 40. Lumley's punt off the side of his foot. It trickles out, and there's no play for Aaron David there. So Saskatchewan sensing a chance to wrap this thing up with a 31-16 lead and just 2:43 on the clock. Sports Center will come your way. Highlights of this in the earlier game. Laval downing Laurier to advance to the Vanier Cup. Grey Cup previews as well. Lots ahead on Sports Center with Rod Smith coming up after we wrap up here.
Well, it's been a fun afternoon,
yeah.
Rosie. I know you and I love doing these college games.
Well, it's a fun day in the bright blue sky. And, you know, to get out here and just see you in that too, Cleef, is really a wonderful experience. To remember Dunweiler, and this guy has run very effectively. We talked about him earlier, but this is a guy who graduated from the Hilltop Junior program and joined Saskatchewan's Huskies with 1 game left in the regular season. He's on campus. He's a student at the University of Saskatchewan and has been for a couple of years, but he played for the Hilltops, and he has made his presence felt over the 3 starts prior to this, and obviously with what he's accomplished here this afternoon.
You know, at the beginning of the game, we told you Blake Mill and St. Mary's said, we want to stop Dunweiler. That's our focus. Well, they haven't been able to do it.
And while Dunweiler is not a veteran of this University of Saskatchewan team, the Huskies in green and white have a lot of veterans who were around for the last Vanier Cup appearance, and that was 2 years ago when they lost to these St. Mary's Huskies at Skydome.
Well, there's Brian Giebert, the fine defensive end with U of S, and you know, Ray Morrison told us that it is an MCL injury, and most likely he will not be at the Vanier Cup this week if they hold on and win this game, and that's a tough break for him.
Brian Tauras has been to the Vanier Cup 6 times as the head coach of this University of Saskatchewan program. He has won on 3 occasions. Huge hole opens up. Jeff Piercy and Birthright gets over to make the tackle and likely save the touchdown.
Boy, you look at the kind of game that Jeff Piercy's had. I mean, we talk about Belon throwing the ball so effectively, Dunweiler with some great yards on the ground, but how about Jeff Piercy, the fullback? He takes the draw here. Now, he wants to punish somebody right there. Boom! Runs over a player, and that's Kovis. And he's also had 2 touchdown catches today, made some great lead blocks. What an effort he's had.
First touchdown catch of the afternoon for Piercy for 8 yards, his second for 11 yards, and that kind of salted things away for the Saskatchewan advantage as we have it right now. Piercy has CFL size. He's a great blocker with good hands. There's Graham Bell, who has a touchdown catch today, used sparingly, just sliding back into the Saskatchewan lineup.
Yeah, when you think about it, they lost 8 running backs to injuries this year, and in light of that, to see the contribution this afternoon of Piercy, number 30, Graham Bell, Dunweiler, and Scott Stevens has also carried the football, so we're talking about a little bit of depth at running back here.
A veteran lineup, no question about it. Another explosion out of that Saskatchewan backfield. And it's Piercy again. Here's the list of running backs that the Huskies of Saskatchewan have used. Now, well, a sled full of Huskies, to put it mildly.
Yeah, and 5 of those 8 were lost through knee injuries. So it has not been an easy year for Brian Tauras, because this Saskatchewan team historically has a good running back. They've always got a good passing game, but they've always, ever since I started watching them in the 80s when you and I started coming out here, they've always had a nice balance.
And it's nice for Brian Tauras and company to see the all-star quarterback Steve Belon come back from a 2-game injury and operate this offense as effectively as he has. He was injured just prior to the playoffs, and credit has to go to Mark Feeder, who we haven't really seen at all this afternoon, but he's a quarterback who came in and started the 2 playoff games against UBC and the University of Alberta and got Saskatchewan into the Mitchell Bowl with victories there. He's a different style player than Belon, but somehow he got the job done.
Yeah, he did. So, you know, although Brian Tauras said we were really at a loss for our depth this year, I mean, they've really had some guys from backup roles step up and do a great job. And Belon, you know what? He did everything that I think his head coach expected he would do with the short. He's not 100%.
No.
But he did. He had the running game to go to. He had play action, and he threw underneath the coverage all day long. And, you know, it's going to set up Cup in Hamilton a week from today.
Comes your way on TSN next Saturday from Ivor Wynn. The Vanier Cup, Laval against Saskatchewan. Tickets are still available by calling this number, 1-866-4Vanier, on the World Wide Web at VanierCup.com. 27 seconds to go, and you know, when you look back to last Sunday and the disappointment this province felt with the outcome of the Western Final, this Saskatchewan Husky victory will make Saskatchewan football fans feel at least a little bit better.
Well, it'll ease the pain somewhat.
A little bit, yes.
I don't know.
Not completely, no.
But, you know, we talked about Veland, and, you know, he had a terrific afternoon, and 20 of 30, just perfect.
Well, the second half was the TSN turning point for Brian Towers and company. Touchdowns came in bunches for Saskatchewan. Sheeman, Piercy, and then Graham Bell. It was 10-10 at halftime. And right now the scoreboard with 13 seconds on the clock reads 31-16 Saskatchewan.
You know, for me, John, it was that 11-play drive, the second touchdown of the second half when Piercy got his second touchdown out in the flat, and that 11-play drive really was, to me, the difference in this game.
Well, Saskatchewan started well and finished impressively as well. So the University of Saskatchewan Huskies, a team of the 90s with appearances and wins in the Vanier Cup in 90, 96, and 98. Back to the Vanier against Laval next Saturday. I think it's going to be a heck of a game.
Yeah, I think it should be too, John. And once again, a lot of fun to do a college football game, and we appreciate all the cooperation both teams gave to us to get us ready to do this game.
Thanks for joining us on the campus of the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon. This is TSN, Canada's sports leader.